In the last part of Create Above and Beyond, we built a mobile storage system, the best Create workshop I've ever worked in, an incredibly fast super smelter and alloy machine, the ability to have creative flight in our home base, and a whole lot more, getting us all the way through Chapter 2 of Above and Beyond. And in this part, we're going to complete Chapter 3, the Catharsis, which means automating all of this nonsense. Now, just finishing Chapter 3 isn't going to be our only goal in this video, because that's just not how I want to play this pack. Along with getting to Chapter 3, I've got all these different side quests left over from the last time I played. Now, I think we're probably going to modify and take some of these out, so I think we'll start with that first and kind of write down a list of everything I need to do, starting with things that just need to be fixed. First things first, we got to fix this train. It does get back and forth eventually, but it doesn't work very well, and the path to actually get back and forth looks, let's just say, not great. Next, the back of our andesite factory doesn't actually have a back right now. We were originally planning to put a train station here, but I think we're pretty much good to just button this up and pull storage out through a belt that just kind of runs through the top there. And speaking of train stations, we'll also have to actually build a train station for the landing point for our little storage room, because right now, this is it. This is where our train station lands when it goes back and forth. Next, we do have our auto barrel factory, which has been trying to complete the test of patience, and one thing you might notice is it's not running. Does that mean we've completed it? Oh wait, does that mean we've completed it? No. So it broke itself, which has happened actually quite a few times. And the reason for that is this works fine if you're sitting here watching it, but every once in a while when it's unloaded, it will break itself. So we do need to redesign this test of patience machine so we can actually get to the bottom of the barrel. And the last thing we really need to do is over here in our precision mechanism factory, our cobble gen keeps breaking itself, and that's because it's on a redstone clock that just stops working every time we deload and reload the chunks. So what we just need to do is toggle this, and then it's back active, so we'll have to figure out some sort of fix for that. It'll probably just be a different clock, but we may have to do a slightly different system for mining out all of the cobblestone. And the last thing we need to do over in our first area is right now we're farming precision mechanisms, kinetic mechanisms, we're farming cross, we're farming kelp, we're farming the copper mechanisms, and right now I just have to manually go grab those things. So I would like some sort of central belt system that could get them all the way over to our train station, so we can kind of just have a big chest there, and we can automatically, or at least very quickly, move these back and forth from our old base to our new base. So with all of these fixes defined, we also have all of these side quests I want to do for Chapter 3. First is a testing facility where we're able to kind of test out new designs for machines. We also want a coin trade hall so we can automatically generate coins and items from coins. We also need a new storage room. Maybe we'll just extend the train, but I think we eventually are going to run out of space in there. We also want an auto food factory, a village trade hall for villagers and cards, and I guess Chapter 3 machines, which is going to be pretty important. So with all of that out of the way, I think it might be montage time. Fixing up the train line ended up being a way bigger project than I initially thought, taking over 10 hours to complete. The first step was to relay out where I wanted the train tracks to go, and then I went under, dug a hole underneath where I'm placing this cobblestone, and then placed train tracks in that hole connecting up our two stations. Once we had our two stations connected up, it was time for a test run, and what you're seeing here is probably the 5th or 6th iteration of that test because we had so many issues, and man, I really missed the new train system. But once we finally had a good connection, I went ahead and put a bunch of drills on the front of the first car, then ran that through the mountain just to kind of get the tunnel started to save myself a whole lot of digging. With the help of our drill train, we went ahead and decorated the rest of the tunnel so that way we have a nice smooth ride through the mountain. With the train line complete, the last step was to kind of clean up our two stations. Starting off in the new mega base, we went ahead and finished off the station, connecting it up to the mountain. And then over in the old legacy base, we went ahead and built a station in the same style as our andesite factory, which ended up looking really quite cool. So here we are in the new Mega Base train station, and you can see we're now fully fleshed out and this place looks awesome. We do still have some spaces open for additional production, but I really like how it kind of cleaned up, and we can go ahead and hop in the train, and we're now fully set up where I can hit this button, and then we hit the road and travel over to the old legacy base. And we're now coming into the station, so I can either hang out in the train and land, or I can pop out and kind of beat it there. But I think the thing looks really cool when it's in motion, because we purposely built a hover train and it's just hovering a bit higher off the ground than we originally intended. But all in all, I think it actually ended up working out pretty nicely, and I'm really happy with our end result here. And here it comes looping back around into the station. Now, you'll notice this station is pretty bare bones and empty right now. That was kind of on purpose. We went and built a little bigger than we really needed to, just to give us room for additional production or storage or belt work if we ever wanted to do more in this area. And after building our 2 train stations, I was still in a building mood, so I figured what better time to finish up the andesite factory. So with our andesite factory finally complete, I think it's time that we start belting all of the items that we're producing over to our train station. From our andesite factory, that's going to be andesite casings, andesite alloy, kinetic mechanisms, and silver coins. And I suppose we can grab our 4 cobblestones. We got gabbro, granite, andesite, and diorite all being produced here as well. From our infinite barrel factory, once we actually get it fixed, we will also be spitting out silver coins. And from our automatic mob farm, we're actually getting gold, iron, and diamonds all being exported. And I suppose we have all of the mob drops as well, although I don't think any of these really need to be exported, maybe except bones. Guess we'll pull bones out of here as well. From our Chapter 2 factory, we're producing both electron tubes and precision mechanisms. And finally, in our copper machine factory, we're both getting belts as well as sealed mechanisms out of here. So here is everything that we're going to need to get. I went ahead and just threw all of these in oak drawers, and I'll connect it up with the drawer controller. So we can just have like one central bus belt or a few belts kind of coming in and filling up all of these different items. And then we can very easily pump them into our train if you want, or just kind of pop down here from the station and collect all the stuff that we're producing. So now it's time for one of my favorite parts to create. We're going to have to place a whole bunch of belts. So after a whole lot of work, we finally got all our belts routed in. Got our copper stuff, got our andesite stuff, all the way over coming over here. We have our brass stuff. We even routed over from our mob farm, and everything is funneling down into our train station and into these storage drawers. Now the very last step should be to hook up this line of belts, and then we should start seeing a really nice flow of items. So let's go ahead and get that hooked up to power. And looks like our belt is backwards. That's gonna suck to clean up. Oh no! Look at that going backwards. I emptied out all my drawers and I didn't key them yet. Okay, well, guess I'll have to go back and reset the filters. Okay, and this should fix it. Looks like we are flowing the right way. And look at that, we got all of our items flowing in. Looks like these 2 are filtered. So this one only has bones coming in right now, and this one only has the gabbro cobblestone. This one should be working. I'm not sure why we're not getting our andesite alloy out of here. If we follow this belt up, yeah, it looks like it's actually empty right now because this line is not moving. That is an easy enough fix. There we go. So now we got our andesite moving in, and I guess that's it. So I did go ahead and upgrade all of these drawers with 6 diamond storage upgrades, which gives us a total of 1,536 items per slot, which shouldn't be enough, especially because all of these also have backup storage further on in the factory where it's being produced. So I think we're going to call this good enough, and honestly, I don't think we're going to pump it into our train, just because this is easy enough way to get the items, and none of these we really need in extreme bulk at the moment. Eventually we'll probably bump it in, but I think for now we can check the belting off the list. So next, I really want to fix our barrel factory because I just want to complete the test of patience. We don't really need to, it's not something that needs to be done at all, but it'd be so cool to just find out what's at the end of this barrel. I know it's not hard to find that information, but I've actually kept myself completely spoiler free, and I have no idea what it's going to be. So I've been watching this for a little bit, and I think what's happening is our little axe is breaking it too early. So, because it's a kind of randomized, like when this actually triggers, I think every once in a while it'll break it early before it comes out on the filter here. So what I think we might have to do is maybe slow down our axe so that way it's never going to happen before it gets filtered out and placed. Which shouldn't be too hard because these are all kind of like at the end of this little encased chain drive. So it should be relatively easy to slow down. So I'm going to try that, and we're going to watch it for like, probably just let this run in the background for like an hour. We're going to like unload and reload the chunks a few times, just to like make for sure that it's going to be stable, because I don't want to have the case where this happens to despawn. So far, it's always been like, ended up over here on this depot, which is technically where like the finished one is supposed to end up. But yeah, we'll see. So that wasn't too difficult to half the speed of our axes. Only thing is now we're running quite a bit slower, but I think it's still theoretically possible. I'll probably have to do the math and like look up what the chances are and see how long this could realistically take, but my guess is it's gonna be a while. And you know, if this gets to like the last episode in the series, I'm just gonna rip a turtle program and just automatically do this, because that's how I've seen most people do it. Is you can just have a mining turtle mine it and like check for the thing, place it, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll let this run in the background, and hopefully we end up getting our test of patience completed by the end of the series. So the next thing to fix is going to be our brass machine factory. And the first thing you'll notice is it's not even running right now. And that's because our power system doesn't actually work if it's not running. So essentially we have this belt here which feeds all the wood into all the furnaces for our furnace engines, and if that's not running, this won't run. But this needs to run for that to run. And so you can see how we very quickly just get into this issue where essentially it just can stop itself pretty easily. So I think our first step is we're going to get that belt up there that feeds our furnace engines on an independent water wheel, so that way it'll always run and we won't have this problem happen in the future. And then we also have our cobblestone generator, which has this little redstone clock that kind of breaks itself every time it's unloaded if this like piston is in action. So I'm thinking I might try to swap this out for a gantry, and we'll see if the gantry doesn't work better than the mechanical piston at kind of keeping itself from breaking. So we've got our factory back up and running, producing the precision mechanisms. What I ended up doing to fix this is I have this running on its own water wheel now. The other issue was items just weren't coming out fast enough with this lower belt speed. So what I did is I made it so that it's only going to take a stack out at a time. So I have the smart chute here, so that way each time it takes items out, it'll be a whole stack, which should keep everything here fully stocked. And in doing that, I think that actually fixed our little cobble machine, because I've loaded and unloaded the chunks, loaded and unloaded the game a few times now, and this hasn't broke. And what I'm thinking is that we were actually stopping this factory, and when that happens, if this stops moving forward, it's basically triggered off this observer. So if this stops moving forward and it mines the blocks, then this observer can't see that that's mined. If it moves forward basically and triggers to go back but then doesn't actually go back, then when power goes back on, it'll stay stuck forward. So I think we're at a point now where this is just gonna run, and I think we're pretty much good to call this complete. Along with that, I also added supports along all of our belt lines just to kind of make it look quite a bit nicer. And our barrel factory has not yet broken itself. So you can see we're still chugging away, slowly but surely, trying to get that test of patience complete. And yeah, everything seems to be going pretty well. And I mean, with that, I think we're actually done in our starter base for now, and we can start heading on back to the main base and try to figure out what project we're going to start next. Cool, so stage 1 of this video is actually going to be complete. So we can go ahead and check all these off. Oh, we can check that off as well. And then we can start moving on to the next item, which I honestly think we have these other items to do, but I want to start working towards chapter 3. Now, the reason for that is our base really doesn't have much infrastructure yet. We have pretty much infinite lava. Well, I should say almost infinite lava. We have just a little bit more to fill that up. We've got our chapter 2 factory and our workshop and smeltery, but that's pretty much it. Each of these are running off of their own power source, and we don't actually have any like wood farms or crop farms or anything. And the whole point of this mega base is to have everything kind of shared, so we don't have to build a wood farm for each individual item. We can just build one giant wood farm and have it pump stuff over to each individual factory. And I think by starting chapter 3, we're going to start building a lot of those systems, like we're going to need power, and then we're probably going to need wood to power the power and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to start there and then kind of move on back through the rest of these items. So let's finally take a look at the Catharsis Chapter 3. The groundwork has been laid with all that has been created so far. The pace should really pick up from here. Producing components for inductive technology relies on very peculiar techniques. Though with all the new equipment ready, automating even more convoluted interactions should become a cakewalk. After hitting the checkmark above, the third chapter of the factory guide will become accessible. So let's go ahead and hit that. And now we can jump into chapter 3, which looks pretty intense, but shouldn't be too bad. The start. Working towards a passive supply of radiant induction coils, you'll be sure to encounter some new and unfamiliar tasks. Once again, it's time to grab the wrench and restock the toolbox. And now I think I'm going to have to read through all of these and kind of figure out where our good starting spot is going to be. So I think our starting point is actually going to be really simple. We need sticks, we need cobblestone, and we need sand. So I think it's time that we set up our tree farm, cobblestone farm, and also a processing plant to get gravel and sand. And along with that, this is going to be our really first like mega production line that we need to feed into a bunch of other places. So I'm going to spend some time kind of picking out where our main bus line is going to live, because that's going to be pretty important as far as kind of like picking where to build these factories. Because if we have a nice central location for all of our items to flow, it'll be easier to find spots for future factories as we kind of like build out our mega base. Okay, and so here we are. We didn't go too crazy with laying stuff out. I just kind of laid down a pad for all of our trees, and this should be big enough to give us every single tree type in the mod pack if we kind of split this down the middle and one side does one set of trees and another side does another, which I think should work out pretty well. The other thing we did is we got a central bus shaft. So this is where all of our items are going to travel up and down throughout the factory. This goes all the way down to where our train is riding, so that means it can connect up there with this path. It's not perfectly lined up, but it's close enough that when we kind of keep building back our factory, we should be lined up kind of well on this corner. And it also connects right up to our tree farm. Now this isn't going to be the only bus line we're going to have. Eventually we're probably going to extend kind of over there in the mountain and over this way. So at some point we're going to have some horizontal lines. So that way like parts will travel up and down here and up and down, putting the items where they need to go. And then we'll also have ones going this way and this way, kind of sending items back and forth. So that way we can actually kind of organize everything out and get all of the stuff we need to all the places we need in the factory. And before we go any further, I think we're going to actually build the tree farm, which is going to have an independent power system, so that we don't have the issue we had with our brass factory. And then I'm going to work on a power station, which honestly I'm probably going to take this location here. And you guys haven't actually seen this location in a video. This was going to be our food farm, but I really approached this not the way I wanted to. So you can see we got a crop farm, a tree farm, we got chickens, we got a cobblestone farm, which makes gold, and all these individual things, all individually powered, which is not the point of this mega factory. We should have one huge gold farm that could supply gold to here, one huge tree farm that could supply wood to here, and all that kind of stuff. So this is definitely going to be ripped out. Even though we got kind of far, probably about halfway towards getting automated food, but I think it's time that we replace this with something a little more useful. So what I'm thinking for our tree farm is we take a gantry shaft, throw it out to either side, and then we just kind of have it like go out and then come back. So think we actually want to go one block higher with this because we need the shaft, then we need the carriage underneath that. And then we'll do our row of saws. So we'll come out here like so. Then if we send this all the way out, that should work to kind of just go over and chop all the trees. Although the one downside with this gantry shaft is going to be in the way of trees growing. So like jungle trees, they won't actually grow if that's there. So I think what we need to do is actually sink that underground, which actually I think will work out nicely because then we can even plant trees in this center row here. So we'll do something like this. For a carriage there. Then we'll glue all of these together. Then I'm actually not sure if we can plant on the center row. Let me test that quick and just make sure that we are able to do that. Okay, so it looks like this won't work because as we kind of go, you can see we go up to that point and then we get stuck on this grass block. So this middle section will have to be open, which means we may eventually need more farming spots. So I think what I'll do is I'll just widen this by 1, just to make sure that we have enough area for trees. It'll give us 4 more spots, which I'm perfectly happy with to have like more than we need. But yeah, I could potentially switch to mine carts and still have this middle run, but I really want something a little bit more reliable. I had tree farms with mine carts before, and like with unloading, reloading the chunks in the game, they do seem to get stuck from time to time. So I think what we'll do is we'll just run a gantry shaft and then extend this out by 1, and then that should work pretty nicely. And then I also want to run one on this end, so I'll dig this out, extend it by 1, and then we will get started on kind of hooking it up to its own independent power source, which will probably actually live over by where we're going to build the power factory, just kind of keep everything together. Because that same power source can also run the power factory itself. So it'll be one line of water wheels that'll run the tree farm and all of the belts and stuff we need to actually make the power factory function correctly. All right, extended by 1, went ahead and threw in all of our gantry shafts. So now the next step is to actually rip out all of this junk. Although now that I'm looking at it, honestly, it's kind of like straight down is right over here from where we have like our midpoint. So maybe it makes sense to dig a new slot here and then throw the power factory there. Then we can kind of leave this open for maybe chapter 3 because we have these 2 layers, which is pretty significant amount of space. Yeah, we'll try that. We'll kind of extend this slot all the way over, maybe to like over there, kind of where this ends, and then we'll call that good. So I guess next step is to clear out some space. And we broke our shovel, no. Well, I guess we gotta go make a new shovel. Might be a bit sacrilegious not using Buddy Steel, but we had some of these diamond shovels we looted from the end cities. And we're still instant mining the dirt, so we're just gonna run with those. And with that, we have our little area dug out. So now we just need to kind of plan out how our power system is going to work. We're just going to go relatively simple with furnace engines. We're not going to bother with blast furnace engines. We'll run power up to there, and then we'll also find a nice place for some water wheels to actually make sure everything is up and powered. So I think what we're going to do is do an entire stack of furnace engines, which should get a decent amount of power. That should take us through the mid game and hopefully through to the late game, but we'll definitely leave some space in case we do need to upgrade. And this will be pretty simple. We'll have the top line with wood going in, and the bottom line with coal going out, and then we'll have this line from the back where we can take that charcoal and feed it back in, and we'll have a lot of extra charcoal which I'll feed to our main bus line, which we can use for running any other furnaces or blaze burners throughout our factory. So pretty simple design that we can just kind of copy 4 times. We got 16 furnace engines per row. Then when that's done, we're pretty much ready to hook up our wood farm and start feeding it. At least that is after our 9.5 stacks of brass ingots finish mixing up, because We need to build flywheels, which are crazy expensive. And here it is, the entire kind of skeleton of what we need. We have everything here other than the flywheels, which we have the brass. I just have to go in and use my mechanical crafters to make those up. But we have 64 furnace engines, 64 furnaces, all being fed. Up top, we have retrieve farm. And the way this is working is I have 2 redstone contacts, one on each end. When it hits over there, it triggers this gear shift just to send it back. But when it hits over here, it goes ahead and triggers this pulse repeater set to 1 minute. So that way it gives itself 60 seconds to drop off any wood it has and like let other trees go. And then it will flip back on or off the power toggle latch, sending it back that way. So it should go back and forth pretty smoothly and do pretty well for us. I did go ahead and grab most of the saplings we have. So we're going to go ahead and just go and fill these in. And then some of these, I think I am going to do 2 by 2. So like the spruce sapling, that's got to be 2 by 2. So I'll have to split that stack. And I think the other one is going to be dark oak, which it looks like I didn't grab. So we'll just keep going down and filling all these in. Some of these modded ones, I'm not too sure if they're going to work long term in the farm, like the willow and the redwood, because I believe they can grow larger. And there's not an easy way to control that. So we may end up getting a few cases where we have like an extra large tree that kind of gets in the way of other stuff. So go ahead and let those plant up. We have these last 3 we need to throw in there, but we'll do that when it comes back around. And in the meantime, we'll show you the system we have for basically powering our furnace engines. So first thing is our logs come down here onto this belt and go into the store controller, which will fill up all these slots. Then I still need to make this connection, but the reason I haven't is I'm not sure what sapling, or I should say what wood I'm going to use. It'll probably end up being spruce, but that would be routed down into this oak drawer, which goes on this green belt, which essentially just goes on a circle all the way around, going to every single chute here at the top. So that should keep every furnace fed with our logs. And it kind of comes all the way around and then back. And then once our coal gets, or our wood gets smoked up into charcoal, goes down onto this bottom rung, which goes all the way down. And we do have a little buffer chest here, which we can put a void crate on to kind of make sure we don't overload. But anyway, it'll come down to this end, and then it'll go up a layer. And then that up layer goes to the back of each furnace, feeding all of the coal back into the system. Then at the end, it comes back around and down into our drawer. So this should work pretty nicely and give us like a good amount of extra coal as it kind of goes. The one thing I'll need to do is once we are like kind of have a stack of wood in every single furnace, I'll go ahead and just drop a few stacks of coal, or I guess a lot of stacks of coal or wood onto the back here, which will kind of kick them off and then keep the whole system running. And I do have these on a lot of water wheels. This is definitely an overkill amount of water wheels for what we have, but I figured if we ever have another system that we want kind of fully ran, we have upgrade capacity. Plus, we could always speed this up if this ends up not working for whatever reason. Ooh, okay. Immediately, that's going to be a problem. So, looks like we need to add saws on the back here because as these trees grew, it won't allow this to kind of keep going back. So, I'll have to add a second row of saws in the back here, which means we'll have to move these barrels, because what these barrels are doing is they all meet in the middle and then send parts down the chute. So actually, instead of that, I think we'll have to actually extend the saws out to this row, because we'll still kind of need the middle row for stuff to kind of fall down. So that is unfortunate, especially because we have trees growing already. So we'll have to go ahead and get those out of here and then make that modification. Cool, so I think I've got a decent solution. So we went ahead and did 2 rows of saws, so that way forward and back it's can actually mine. Now what I'm thinking is we put our barrels up here, and I can just put funnels going out, and we'll just set these to only take out a stack at a time. And then make sure the funnel over here is brass. Okay, it is. So that way, as it goes back and forth and it gets back to here, it'll just kind of take that stack and just drop it all the way down onto the belt below. And hopefully that should work out pretty good. In doing that, though, we really do have to make sure that the barrels that this is going into or I should say the storage drawers have void upgrades. Because if we are just dumping wood every time back and forth, we could potentially be lagging out our world pretty bad if we're not actively funneling that in. So all of these are set to 64. And yeah, I think that's it. We should be ready to hook back up. I went ahead and kept our gantries in the same spot, so we should be able to do this, this. And I did unhook my redstone just so that way it didn't like stop itself. And it's moving, and the brass funnels are staying in place, which is what we want. And it seems like it is... Oh, come on. That's not going to work, because it's going to hit the leaves. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take all this nonsense up top, all the deployers and the barrels, and we're just going to flip it underground. I think that works. I think barrels or deployers can place blocks through a block. Let's actually just test that quick to make sure that that works. And assuming it does, then we'll go ahead and just flip the whole thing. So we'll throw that there. We'll grab a hand crank. And it does work. So, yep. Okay. Well, that should be relatively easy to do, I hope. Okay, we did it. We fixed it. Everything's good to go. So this ended up being a little trickier than originally I thought it would. But we were able to move everything underground. So we have our line of deployers. We have our barrels, which kind of come into here and filter down over into our storage drawers. And so now we just have our saws going back and forth, and everything seems to be working as intended. I also upgraded our redstone because when it's chopping trees, you'll notice with this one, it's going to show up a lot later. So what I did is I put redstone contacts on both when they get here and both when they get to the end. And then I have these AND gates. So essentially, like, when both of them get to the center, it'll trigger this gate. Then it sets off the pulse repeater, which then powers this to go the other way. And then same thing when it gets to the end. Once both are at the end, it'll unlatch the latch, and then they will both come into the center. So the next step is just to route the spruce wood, because we can grow 2x2 spruce trees, so we're going to get a ton of that, down on over to this drawer. And then we need to feed all the furnaces from the back just to kind of get it started. And then we've got power. Do you know what? To pull out of here, I may as well just use the same controller we already have. So I'm going to go ahead and grab spruce logs, put a smart chute here, set it for spruce logs, and then we'll go ahead and dig a trench right under that, where we can put a belt. Let the belt come all the way down over to here. So I'll have it come to this point here, connect up that belt. And then here we're going to actually need to go up a block, it looks like, which means we'll need more shafts, which of course I don't have. Now that is one thing about the train. The further up this mountain we go, the further I have to go to actually access my storage. So it might be sometime soon that we want to get into occultism, so we can just have like essentially infinite storage. But I think for now our train is working out really nicely. I did throw a few more barrels in here, just so that way we have like definitely more than enough storage. But yeah, you can see right now I have to come all the way up these escalators and then fly all the way up to the top. So we'll connect that up there, and then we'll connect this to here, and then we'll go ahead and do a chute here, that, and then once I power that, we should be good. So let's go ahead and do that and see how everything fills in. All right, so with this next delivery of wood, we should get a ton of spruce, and we'll be able to see if that will actually filter out down into our storage system correctly. Okay, we see all of our stuff falling out. That all looks like it's going as intended. There we go, there's our first spruce. Okay, it did. It got taken out right down onto our belt. And, oh no, okay, there we go. Okay, and it is correctly funneling down, great. So that's going down into this drawer, which is going down onto our belt, which is not filling up that furnace because it was full of stuff, but it's filling up that furnace. Wow, I made a mess down here. I guess we have to go ahead and check each one of these and make sure spruce is actually going into it, because it looks like most of these are just filled up with a single dirt, which is not. But we can just go ahead and kickstart this by throwing a bunch of spruce into here. And yeah, it should pretty much be good to go. And you know what? This is going to need to be a bit faster. So I'm going to replace this with a smart chute, and I'm going to replace this guy with a brass funnel. So that way it can do a lot more items at once, because we have a lot of furnace engines we need to feed. So because we have to craft an entire stack of flywheels, I decided to go ahead and do a quick little automation here. So this should work. Once it fills up, we'll craft up a flywheel and then start doing the next one. So we can just let that run for a while we go work on something else. Flywheels are installed and every one of these furnaces has wood in it. So now it's time to get this kick started, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and use planks for this because planks will smelt up just as many items as logs. So we'll just go ahead and put a ton of these redwood planks because we're getting a lot of these, as well as the spruce logs. So we're going to go ahead, fill this up, and hopefully pretty soon every single one of these will be moving and we'll be generating plenty of coal, because we will be getting 8 coal per every single smelt we do. So pretty quickly this thing should be up and running and fully self-sufficient. You can see our first row of flywheels is starting to work. So now I just need to connect them all up to power, so that way I can actually get like one output that I can like belt around to the factory. And the last step is just to make this whole place look pretty. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get that started. And finally, our little tree farm and power station are complete. So we got our tree farm up here, it's been running really nicely. I did add in some more spruce saplings just to make sure that we had enough to power our factory. But if we can come in here in this little maintenance store, we've got everything all set up where we can come in and grab these woods and eventually pump these out into our main storage system. And I have these little stairs. A little bit of work still to be done on the decoration, but I think we may end up expanding this eventually to kind of include like RF power and stuff. But anyway, we've got all this running. You can see I added redwood as well to these just because the spruce wasn't quite keeping up, but now we're fully running. Every single one of these furnace engines is powered and they're all linked up together to here, and we're generating over 1 million stress units, which that's going to be enough. If that's not enough, then we'll just slow down our machines in the future. But yeah, 1 million SU, I think we're going to be fine. And I think this should take us all the way through the rest of the game. Now, coming back to our board of all the stuff we're actually planning to do in this video, Chapter 3 is what we're going to hit next. And that's because of Chapter 3A, which gives us Ender Utility, which basically means we're going to unlock the Ender Tank and Ender Chest. Now, what these essentially do for us is they make it so we don't actually need a big central bus line to move materials, because essentially with this Ender Chest, you can dye it a certain pattern, and then every other Ender Chest in your world with that dyed pattern will be able to transfer items between it. So it'll basically mean we don't need a central bus. I love the idea, and I definitely think in my next Let's Play, which will be coming sooner than later, we will have some sort of central bus system to move materials around. But I think as far as just getting this pack complete, I think it makes a lot more sense just to go and use those ender blocks. We'll still keep this center shaft. Maybe we'll do something cool within the future. But for now, I think I'm going to rip out all of this junk that we're using to make a food farm, and we're going to get ready for Chapter 3. So taking a look at Chapter 3, we really don't have that much work to do. It's a relatively simple automation. So first thing is we got to make crushing wheels, and then we got to crush those crushing wheels, which gets us singularities. And then we take those singularities and blow them up with TNT to get these entangled singularities. And then we need to paint them to get these chromatic singularities that are like all painted. We just do that with any dye. Then after that, we get these like little colored bits, and then we use those to make chromatic compound, which gives us our refined radiance, and then we process that down into getting our inductive mechanisms, which helps us unlock Invar machines, which basically means all of the thermal series blocks are open to us, which basically will just make processing in the future a lot easier. Now to get our TNT and our dyes, we use these slimy ferns, which we can process down into gunpowder, ender dust, as well as bone meal. So we're going to start up here with the crushing wheels until we get down to this point, and then we're going to do our slimy fern farm, and then we're going to do our sand, which will honestly be really quite easy. So let's go ahead and start laying out where we're going to have these different contraptions and start collecting some of the materials. Okay, so step 1, singularities, is already done, and that was actually really easy to do. So we have this big mechanical crafter making our crushing wheels. Up above that, we have 2 igneous extruders. That's getting us all of our cobblestone and kind of filling it up. Now, the way we can actually input just from the top is if you use a wrench, on the back of these, you can actually connect or like disconnect each individual crafter. So I just connected the whole cobblestone ring on the outside, so that all fills up. And then I have our sticks on the inside, which are filled from the back here. And this is routed all the way back to our tree farm. So whenever that tree farm gets sticks, they get routed down into the back into that hopper, and then fill up our little crafter. So you can see that we're not quite keeping up with our crushing wheels there, because after it fills up, it goes into here, gets crushed up, and then we get our singularities, which look really cool. Look at those items. Now I think what I'm gonna do, because I would like this to kind of keep up a little better, is it seems like cobblestone is our limiting factor. So we can throw some augments in here. So I'm gonna grab some augments, throw those in there, and we'll see if we can keep up a little bit better. Okay, so I grabbed my augments. I also grabbed 2 void upgrades, so we can throw those on here right away, just that way we're not overfilling. And then we're gonna go ahead and take these, and we'll start with 3. Oh, that's right. So you can only place 1 of each type in here. So we can create like the copper level, but it seems like this actually now is faster than our hopper in the back with the sticks. So I guess we'll actually probably just leave it there. We could always bring a second hopper or speed this up with belts or something, but I think we'll leave it at that. And it seems to be still not keeping up with the crushing wheel, but we do want like down the line processing to always be faster than upline processing, so we don't have a bottleneck going on. So I guess we'll leave it like that. So the next step is we need to get some TNT. Sand is going to be easy because we just take our same igneous extruder, feed it through a crushing wheel twice, and then we get sand. And gunpowder we're going to get from the slimy fern blend, which we get from crushing slimy fern leaves, which we get from cutting a slimy fern, which we can use with the deployer. And our slimy fern is gotten by throwing a slimy fern leaf into spirit fire, which gets us a slimy fern. So that kind of goes back like in a little circle, but when we chop up the slimy fern, we get 2 leaves. So by getting 2 leaves, we throw 1 of them into crushing wheels to get our item, our gunpowder. And then we take the other one and throw it into the spirit fire, which gets us another slimy fern, which we can then cut and then back and forth. So this should be a relatively simple machine, and we do have a few different versions of the fern. So we have a green one, which gives us gunpowder. We have a blue one, which gets us bone meal. And we have a purple one, which gets us ender dust. So I think I might have some of these. Let's go check our storage and see what we have for slimy ferns. Oh, I've got all 3. That's great. So I do have 1 of each leaf, so that means we just need to throw these in spirit fire and we get our ferns. So I'm going to work on kind of starting to design, plan around that. It's going to be a little more complex than crushing wheels. So I will start laying out some spot for that. And I think I'm going to go right here. Originally this was a tree farm, but I kind of like the idea of having like a big dome here. And maybe we can have like our slimy fern processing underneath that. So let's see what we can put together. So the actual process isn't that difficult, but because I decided to do it in kind of like a little bit of a silly way, it ended up taking quite a bit of time, but we did get this all sorted out. So at the top here, we have the slimy fern leaves after they've been cut, and we have a mechanical arm, and that's splitting into these 3 spots in the front and these 3 spots in the back. The spots in the back go to be stored, and the spots in the front get dropped back down. And these are on forced round robins, so that means they're exactly splitting half in the front and half in the back. Each one of these different cells is doing a different color, and once the leaf is placed, it then drops down here into our fire. And then we have a vacuumulator here, which is filtered out to only grab the ferns. And so basically, as soon as the ferns are done, you can see them popping into here. And then that falls down this funnel into this funnel, which goes down into a oak drawer. And this drawer has spot for all three, and it's also voiding. So this will prevent us to build up like a lot of pieces on the floor, because we are dropping entities, which is not always a good thing. So as long as we're voiding it out, we should be okay. Once they're dropped, they then go down onto one of the three paths. We'll follow the purple one here. It goes here, goes on to the deployer where it has the diamond knife. Now I don't need to replace this. So these just don't take durability in here, which is fantastic. So we can just leave that diamond knife in there to process these down over time. After they've been cut, they go up this tube, which basically sends itself up through this fan to this last funnel, which the arm then grabs it and sorts it out. So you can see here we have all these flowing. These are all of like the extras essentially. So this is half of them that's going down over here into our storage. You can see we already have over 3,000 of each fern. So this thing is ripping through them pretty quickly. So then the next step, we just have to take these and crush them down into their blend components. So we're now at the point where we're finally getting our like finished products out of our slimy ferns. So they go through this whole process, they come up here, and I figured we're probably producing at a rate where just a single crushing wheel set can keep up with it. And that seems to be working. Now the one bottleneck is after you crush them up, you have to basically campfire them. Now I've decided to go ahead and use these stoves, because with a campfire you can use 4 at once. With a stove you can actually cook up 6 of these items at a time. So that'll just be a little more compact as far as getting these made. Now the one problem is these take quite a while to cook up. So you can see we have to wait quite a bit of time before this opens up to be able to place new items. So the last thing I have to do before I suck these up, probably with another vacuumulator or set of vacuumulators, is get this dialed in with enough stoves that it's actually able to keep up. So made quite a few extra stoves just so that way we can like perfectly dial this in. I think I'm definitely gonna have to stop this temporarily so I don't drop all these items on the ground, but we should be producing unlimited gunpowder, unlimited bone meal, and unlimited ender dust, which is all going to come in very useful very soon. So I've dialed in the number of stoves we need, so I just kind of let this run for a while, and it ended up always using this many stoves exactly, which is pretty cool. I am going to add this last one in the end just in case there's some extras, like right there, it looks like there was some, but this should definitely keep up with the production rates we have over there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 3 of these vacuumulators in the back, which will basically suck up the items. So you can see these are quite full, but I'm just going to have 1 for ender dust, 1 for bone meal, and 1 for gunpowder. The gunpowder and bone meal we're going to use here to make flowers and to make TNT, but the ender dust we're going to save for chapter 3A, which we'll use to make our ender machines. So I'm going to go ahead and get all these items stored up before we load too many entities in the world, and cut that off there, and then we're going to get around to probably crafting up our TNT. Cool, so that's all set up. So what I ended up having to do, just because the range on these vacuumulators are relatively small, is I just threw a fan at the end here, sucking all the way up from the end, so even stuff all the way over here will just get blown all the way to here and then picked up by vacuumulators. You can see we're slowly processing down. If we have a lot more bone meal than gunpowder or ender dust, just because I've been processing through our huge backlog of ferns we made before we actually had this part of the setup done. But now that we're here, the last step is to combine this with sand, and then we can start blowing up our singularities and making our way back through chapter 3. And we've done it. We've fully automated TNT in Above and Beyond, which will not only be useful for this part of the game, but like we just have unlimited TNT to use, which is sweet. So automating this was really quite simple. So in the back here, we have this 2 igneous extruders that are shoving cobblestone through 2 sets of crushing wheels, and then we're storing our clay, sand, and flint. And then in the back here, we're outputting our sand. And then over here, this is the one with gunpowder, which we're popping out here. Then we have a mechanical arm just filling up every single spot here. And then our mechanical crafter just quickly crafts it all up. Just like that. And then we have another block of TNT. Now, we could probably speed this up a little bit if we add another mechanical arm or 2, which I think I'm going to go ahead and do because no reason not to, right? Like, the whole production here is really just to get TNT and bone meal right now. So speeding this up won't really be a problem for us because we won't have enough gunpowder, because I'm pretty sure that we're still like overproducing gunpowder even at the speeds we're going at right now. So speeding up a little bit should not be a problem. So the next thing I want to work on is taking the singularities we're getting and then blowing them up with TNT. And the way we need to do this is we have our TNT up above, and then we have our singularities down below. Then I think if we blow those up, oh, that was that was a lot more intense than I thought. That didn't work. Oh, because we also need an ender dust. So we actually do need ender dust already. Okay, I did not know that. So if we just took like a stack of each of these, throw in our ender dust, throw in our singularities. I don't know how close they need to be. So I'm actually going to test these on like different sides, just to kind of see if there is a bit of a range we have to work with. And then drop our TNT. Maybe hide behind a block this time. Okay. Oh, it worked! Oh, they don't stack. Oh, why? Okay. So, that's totally doable. That's not too bad. It is kind of bad that they stack in stacks of 2, though. Okay. That's a problem we'll have to deal with then, I guess. But beside needing to stack these quantum entangled singularities in 2, we really shouldn't have too much of a hard time doing this. Now, I do actually want to put it right here, I think, because I kind of, honestly, unintentionally built this like little U-shaped assembly cell thing. So I think it'd be really cool to have like a big central part, which honestly is going to be our TNT. So like a glass case where we can see like our ender dust and our singularities come in, and then it blows up when we get the entangled singularities and they get sucked up into whatever the next process is, which is going to be pressing with the die. So I think that's pretty much as good a place as any. We definitely want to have like a glass tube so we can still see your like arms back here, but yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and get started on hooking it up so that way it'll place TNT here, it'll light it, and then we also need a chamber where we can place singularities as well as the ender dust. And I think when we place the singularities in ender dust, we'll probably wait until there's like a few. I don't really know what that number is, but like we don't really need to waste TNT, right? Like if it's 1 and 1, that's 1 TNT per, which is kind of expensive. But maybe wait till I get like a half a stack of each generated. And then we blow it up, and maybe that'll work a bit better for us and save us some TNT. Okay, so our next 2 systems are in place, and it's finally time to start making our chromatic singularities. But first, we're going to go through these 2 systems. One's really simple and one's a little more complex. So over here, to get dyes, essentially what we're doing is we're pulling our bone meal out of our little like smeltery line. We're pulling that down over here into this deployer, which is then going to deploy on this rose bush, and then this vacuumulator is just going to pick them up, drop them down onto these crushing wheels, which will crush it into our dye, which we can then use. So this is a really quite simple system, and it fit really nicely in this little spot, and we'll still be able to show off our cool TNT crafting, while I also be able to be making our dye. Now, for making our quantum entangled singularity, what we have is we have our 2 belts. Each of these is controlling 32 to pop out at a time. So we have 32 underdust and 32 of these singularities. Those then travel really slowly up this belt because we really don't want to make these too fast. And I will be dialing this in a little bit, just kind of trying to go at the right speed for what we're making. Once these are both in the chutes, we have these content observers behind, which counts that there's 32, which then goes into this AND gate, which then triggers this redstone contact, which will essentially unlock these 2 smart chutes, dropping our items, and also activating this dispenser up here that will drop TNT down here and blow them up and get our cool little quantum entangled singularities. Now I'm gonna have to turn this off because there's one really annoying thing going on with these quantum entangled singularities, and that's that they don't stack. Now they do stack in 2, but that's it. So you can see like this is a lot of items where it's really just a bunch of stacks of 2. So we don't want to have this going all the time, and we want to make sure that we're really using up our quantum entangled Blech, that's a mouthful. Want to make sure we're using our quantum entangled singularities up really fast so that way we're not building up a backlog, because that could potentially be very dangerous. And we might even put a clutch on this vacuumulator. So throw a content observer on here, so if it starts to fill up, then we just stop these belts. So that way we kind of don't have this pile up start to happen. So I'm going to throw that on there. And the other thing I want to do is I think this looks pretty cool being all up like this, but it completely hides all of this stuff going on back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sink this down into the ground, pretty much as far as we can go. So it'll probably be like in line here at this like floor layer instead of up. And it won't look nearly as cool, but we don't want to hide this. We want to be able to really show this off in our factory. And after sinking this down, the next step is making these chromatic singularities, which then we have all these different items that we have to then turn into this chromatic compound. So it's a lot of kind of steps all happening at once. And we do have some space over here, but what I think I'm going to do, just kind of make this a little easier on myself, is we have this little room dug out below. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take our die, and we're going to take our singularities and just drop them down a level and deal with all of this stuff, turning it into refined radiance, and then finally like the machines, which are going to be our inductive mechanisms, all downstairs below this level. Cool, so we've got everything dropped down underground here, and I'm really starting to regret having this in such a central location because that has absolutely ate up my armor. Hopefully we have enough eternal cells to make all this stuff unbreakable, but in the meantime we'll just kind of repair it up. But downstairs we have our chutes dropping down, so we have our red dye going into the basins back here, and then we have our singularities coming in on the other side. Usually it uses like the first two. I have a third here just in case it does overflow at any point, so that way we don't end up like stacking up or getting stuck. And then those flow down here into the chromatic singularities. And luckily these do actually stack, even though they only stack up to 32. But that shouldn't be too much of an issue here, because 32 is plenty. The next step is we need to take these, and we're going to pump them through these crushing wheels. And then we need to take each different color and basically drain it away. So if we're looking at red, we're going to need to drain it into yellow, green, blue, and then we get our magenta. Green, we need to drain it into blue, and then we get magenta, and so on and so on. So each one has a different amount, with red needing the most, and then next would be yellow, which would need 3, green would need 2, and blue would need 1. So we've got our 4, 3, 2, 1 set up here, where we can then set these up on our brass tunnels. So they all flow in here, and they all come out onto the correct set, and they should roll over these. And then I have this weighted ejector, which will hopefully throw it onto this belt, which we can then combine with this belt, and then we have all of our magenta blocks or paintballs kind of coming up on one belt. Pull this out one, and then I will grab some more shafts, which I'm completely out of. We can connect these two up, connect up the belts, and then here would throw a storage drawer. And that should be storing up our magenta paintballs, which we then craft into our chromatic compound, which actually, if I have additional mechanical crafters up here, I might throw them directly into that. I don't. So I think we'll have a drawer before they get thrown into the crafters, which I think will not be a bad idea anyway, just to kind of make sure we can like void out at any stage if anything's going too quick. So we'll go ahead and do that. Then we'll hook all of this up. And then the other thing we need to do is when you do drain away the colors, you get this chromatic waste, which essentially has no real use. So what we're going to do is I'm going to attempt using the nullifier from the thermal series, which should void everything out if pumped in. So we're going to give that a try. I'll hook everything up and we'll see how this ends up working. So we had a little accident up here. This is actually the second time this has happened, but my genius plan of dropping TNT from very high in the air backfired a little bit and ended up blowing up all this stuff. So I've rebuilt it. We're back in action. So once these items get to the center here, we still need to filter our vacuumulator. So let me grab that. We will filter it out for accepting quantum entangled singularities. We'll test that out. Yep, sucked it right up. That looks good. Now, downstairs, once you get to the center, we did get our colors all set up, and it ended up working out quite well. So we've got our crushing wheels, and we ended up swapping to a mechanical arm and funnel system, just because for whatever reason I was having a lot of trouble getting the brass tunnels to work. So we're going to run with this. That ended up working out perfectly. So we got all the different colors here, and as they come through, they hit this depot, the arm sorts them out, they all get drained out, and then our nullifier has worked out really nicely for actually taking all that drained material and voiding it out. And then they all get sorted up here into this storage drawer, which does hold 32, because I guess they don't actually stack, it's just stacks of one. So we have that. The last step is just to pump those into a crafter, 2x2 crafter, and then we get our chromatic compound, which is going to be sweet. We're honestly very close to the end, and I'm really kind of happy with how compact this piece ended up, and it should work out pretty good. I'll just wait for those orbs to come down. Ooh, we do need to clear out our little areas here. Looks like we had a little bit of a mess trying to put this together. You should have seen this place. I probably should have recorded a clip once I was like setting all this up. There was just colored balls and paintballs everywhere. It was really a mess. But we should be ready to run. So once those singularities get there, they'll drop, and then I extended this tube out so hopefully the TNT can't actually cause damage. Blows them up. They flow down here into our presses. You can see our colored orbs are being crushed. Then our mechanical arm is sorting them out. And you can see they all filter out the correct colors. Then when they hit these little weighted ejectors at the end, they just get thrown onto this belt, which all stacks them up at the very end. And it seems like this is not quite keeping up. So you can see that we're still close to 32 here, and that's just due to the arm. So I might add 2 more arms. We'll try 2 more arms. They do have different chances of being made. So red paintball is 90, yellow paintball is 80, 70, 60, 50. So maybe I'll have like 1 arm on red, 1 arm on yellow, and then 1 arm on the rest of these, and that might hopefully kind of start to keep up better. Yeah, let's go ahead and try that, because we want to make sure that this drawer is pretty much empty at all times, because we want to keep up with our system up above. We don't want to have this be the bottleneck. And that's it for the automation of the refined radiant sheets. I ended up just doing this off camera just because it was a little fiddly. I'll kind of go through some of the issues I encountered now. So first thing is we needed to have plenty of crafters. So I've actually got 4 crafters here. That shouldn't be there. The bottom 2 crafters kind of barely get used. Every once in a while this one will go, and every once in a long time this one will go, but we're keeping up with our production of our paintballs, which is pretty sweet. I do have more than enough chromatic singularities, so I slowed the system up top down a little bit more, so we're doing 16 pieces at a time instead of a whole stack when we blow them up and then combine them, so that should hopefully kind of keep up a little bit more. So after it's crafted up, we get our chromatic compound, which is then taken on this belt and shot over here to get our refined radiance. Got another vacuumulator that's sucking it up down this chute, and then it goes through this press, and then we get our radiant sheets, which is the last step we need before we can craft it up one more time, get our induction coil, and then get our inductive mechanism. So we need to go ahead and throw a crafter here. So honestly, we'll just push this back a block. So we could just break this, throw an orc drawer here, throw our mechanical crafter there, and then we just need to power that. We'll grab some cogs, throw them back here, throw 2 chain drives to power that up, and there we go, getting our coils. We'll throw a void upgrade on there because it is the end of the line pretty much. And then these guys, I'm just going to empty out into here because the sheets themselves don't actually have any other crafting recipes other than making the induction coil. And now the last step is to basically just take our precision mechanism and craft it down into our Invar machine. So I'll go ahead and grab some deployers. We'll set up the deployer line. We'll also come into our quest book in the market, and 7 gold, that's pretty easy. And we'll go ahead and make the unbreakable enchanted resonator, and we will be pretty much done with chapter 2. The last step before we actually call it complete is all the way at the top here. It does want us to make the Invar automatically, so we will set up a little Invar machine down by our ingot smeltery, so that way we can build our Invar machines and then turn them into our like zinc machines. Our Invar casings, it is zinc machines I should say, but that's pretty cool. We are almost there. So we're going to craft up our chromatic resonator, assuming we have everything, and we do. Sweet. And then we're going to need to craft up a whole bunch of gold coins. Oh, we can't actually craft them from silver coins? Because we have a ton of silver, right? We have enough to easily transfer into gold coins. Oh, there we go. So we do it exchanging in the trade system. So we need to get 7 stacks of that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we have our trade system set up over here, and I should have an exchanging. Apparently not. We need some coal anyway to make this thing work, so we'll grab some coal, grab our exchanger, which must just be down in our storage unit, and then we can get this thing crafted up. All right, so we actually didn't have one, but luckily it's only 1 silver coin to buy one. So we have our exchange currencies. We can drop that in there. Drop some coal into the dynamos. Never mind. What does this take? Oh, that was a new mystic dynamo, which means I think it takes coins to run. We did have some extras, so we'll drop like a coin in each. And we'll see if that is enough to get our 7 coins, which it should be 6. And 7, there we go, got our 7 coins. So we can come in here, go to the market, go to here, submit both of these, and then claim our enchanted resonator, which basically means that when we throw this in our deployer, it'll never break, which is a huge deal. It means that we can just kind of let this thing run forever. Cool, so I should have everything I need to get this fully automated. So we're going to grab our coils out onto a depot. And then we need a set of deployers and a belt. So we need to have an oak drawer for input, which we'll drop like right here. So that will be where we input our precision mechanisms. And get this, I had exactly 7 left at the new base, which is 1 short if we actually need to make the machine. So I have to make a trip back to the old base before we can finish that off. Anyway, I'm going to take a line of shafts out here, connect those up with a belt, and then we need 3 deployers. Go 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to throw some funnels on top of these 2. Make it deposit the items there and take from there. So now this arm should feed the 2 deployers that need to be fed. And then this last one, we want to give the resonator. And that is our unbreaking one, so we'll never need to replace that. Pull the belt out 1 more. And then I'm going to replace this trim with a drawer once I get the chance. Then we're going to have this go in like so. And that should be the final assembly line. So I'm going to put a drawer there. We'll power everything up. I'll grab a few more precision mechanisms. And then finally, we should have our Chapter 2 machine fully complete. Well, that's too bad. It looks like our little barrel factory either broke again, or this is a good thing, and it's been completed, but I'm pretty sure it broke. Yes, it did. So our machine is still not working. There's still a flaw somewhere in the system, so we're just gonna drop this in here for now. We'll come back and fix that in the future. Cool, and so with this huge stack of precision mechanisms, and a funnel, which I don't have, so we'll just borrow this one, Throw that there. And there we go, our inductive mechanisms. We we did it. That was a tough one. This was the first assembly line I did like fully in survival. The other ones in this world have been done in creative, and then I just kind of schematiced them in. And honestly, with these kinds of like really complex and fiddly machines, that's probably what I'm going to do going forward. But it was a cool experience to figure this all out in survival, but it was dangerous, and there were definitely some times where I felt like I was banging my head against the wall. But we're here, we've done it, we have inductive mechanisms, and we can move on to what's next. And I guess what's next, for me at least, is going through here and checking off all of these. Most of them aren't going to be bad, but some of them will, because we actually have to have like all of these inner inventory at some point. So we are going to have to go through here and, you know, snag a crushing wheel, snag one of these, and all the way down the line, but won't be too bad to get this whole quest book all checked off. All right, congratulations! Inductive mechanisms will now be generated passively. This opens the door to new exciting technologies and magical exploits. Once you're happy with the assembly line, head back to the overview where there will be new options to explore. So, I guess we have to actually craft one of these up. So we'll go ahead and grab a whole bunch of these guys. We'll quickly remove that cobblestone there so these guys craft up. And do I have what I need to make a Invar casing? I sure do. Can make a few Invar casings. Oh, accidentally craft a stone button. Okay, get our Invar casings. We can drop those there, drop our inductive mechanisms around, boom, and we get our Invar machines. So we can click that off, collect our rewards. Now, what this unlocks is all of the thermal stuff. So this will basically mean that we can do a lot of really neat stuff in a really small area. The best of which, or at least the first one we're probably going to really dig into, is going to be the induction smelter, because this allows us to alloy in a single block, and we can do stuff like take our crushed blocks or crushed ores, and we get 9 nuggets right away. So this kind of does unlock the next tier up of being able to process down our ores. So we may eventually look at modifying our production line to kind of make stuff a little bit easier. Now, before we move on, we do want to automate our Invar ingots, which sadly is going to be quite a process. So to make an Invar ingot, we basically need to press this unprocessed ingot 16 times, which we get from blasting this nickel compound, which we can actually now do in our induction smelter, which we have access to. So we can combine our iron and our nickel to get 2 of these unprocessed ingots and then process those down. So I think we'll go ahead and do that over by our other smeltery. So we'll clear out a little bit of space, and we'll build our production line probably just in the back here. Maybe we can even do a little doorway across over here. And then once we have that, we'll decorate that area. We'll decorate our Chapter 2 factory, and then move on to 2A, which we'll be getting into some really exciting stuff there. Okay, so this process should be pretty simple. So we need an induction smelter, and we'll just throw a Stirling dynamo on that for now. We'll just kind of power it whenever we need to. We will have a more permanent system eventually. Then I need 2 drawers, and we'll input there. One's going to be for nickel, and one's going to be for iron. Then out of there, we're going to pull a belt, and we're just going to go a little bit because we're going to go onto a depot after that. We need a funnel out of the belt, and then above the depot, we're going to do a press. And then below the depot, we're going to do a smart chute. And then below that, we'll have a 3rd drawer. And on the smart chute, we will throw in Invar. So now, what should happen, if everything's done correctly, is we should throw our iron and nickel in here, smelt it up, go over here, get pressed, tell it's Invar, and then it gets pulled directly out. So we're going to go ahead, connect this up to power. We'll grab some stuff to get the Stirling dynamo going for a bit, and we'll see if it works. Okay, so we're hooked up to power. We got this loaded up with some iron and some nickel. Let's go ahead and throw in some coal. You can see it'll smelt up, and it should give us our Invar pieces in progress. Once we get those, it'll go onto the press up 12 times, and then when that's done, it'll drop down into our drawer. Perfect, it worked. That's great. So it's not exactly a quick machine, but it'll work, and that's kind of just all we need to do. So we'll let this run in the background while we decorate our latest machines. Okay, so cutting that time lapse a little bit short. I've been working on the building. You know, it's coming together pretty well. We got this whole front area kind of all set up. The problem is I've got these two big open areas to either side of our like crafting area here, and I'd kind of like to put something in here. So what I'm gonna do is take a look over here, overview, and we're gonna take a look at chapter 3A. And assuming that's not too involved, I would like to squeeze that in this space. So let's go ahead and take a look through chapter 3A. The prospect of teleportation alone might be reason enough to explore the mysterious end dimension. In researching the acquired technologies, you will find that your hard-earned silver suddenly finds a second use. Okay, so taking a look at that, we'll check that off. Need to make chapter 3A end machines, which will be back in chapter 3. And let's see what we've got. So, gotta get to the end. Looks like we'll have to have a farm for these bushes. We'll get some phytogro out of those. Ooh, okay, but then we need silver. So I don't think that these two little spaces is gonna be enough for making silver. So I think what we'll do is we'll just fill these in and we'll kind of close up the mountain around there, which I think should end up looking pretty nice. That is a little unfortunate. We're not going to be able to hop into chapter 3A quite yet, but we'll want quite a bit of space to generate silver. So, but that means we get to hop back into our time lapse. And that's chapter 3 fully complete. We have Invar machines. I went ahead and crafted a whole stack just so we can, you know, have whatever we need to kind of keep on moving here. We decorated this area up, which looks really quite nice. I love this assembly line down below, and the one above looks even cooler. One kind of downside is, well, this looks cool. I really wish we could have highlighted this area here. So I think in the future we'll be a little more conscious about like what the cool part is going to be and really make sure that we can highlight those going forward. Now the next step for getting through chapter 3A is going to be a coin farm. So essentially we need to automate these silver coins. Now there's a few different ways we can do that. Kind of the classic I've seen most people do is sweet berries, because you can set up a sweet berry farm super easily and literally get 8 berries gives you a single coin, which is a pretty good deal. And now that we have the phytogenic insulator available to make, we can really easily just feed it some water, some energy, get 2 berries quite quickly. So that is definitely an option. However, the one I want to take a look at is fishing. So if we fish in salt water, we should be able to get jellyfish, red groupers, and tuna, which all sell for quite a lot. So 8 jellyfish is 7 coins. For red groupers, 8 of those is 7 coins, and for our tuna, we can get 8 of those for 10 coins. So we're looking at about 1 coin per fish versus the berries, which is just 8 berries per 1 coin. So it's a lot cheaper, in theory, with the fish if we can farm those relatively quickly. Now to do those, we can use the water strainer mod and the fishing net. So that'll give us, for each one of these we craft up, we get 100 uses to catch fish, junk, and treasures. And that's another thing, we're going to get some sort of treasure out of this as well, which we can then use to also sell some of those items, which we can definitely evaluate once we actually get this going. So this is crafted up with bamboo and canvas, and the canvas I believe we can automate through straw. Yep, or through rice, I should say. So we can farm rice, mill it down, and then get our straw. So in theory, we could fully automate the fishing nets and have those go in and fish up our fish. So the first thing we're going to do is kind of set one of these up, see what 100 fishes actually gets us, how many coins that is, and also just how quick it is, because technically our sweetberry farm can be massive, right? And that's pretty easy to do, and I'm thinking a massive amount of these strainers is also going to be easy to do. So we're going to see how quick it is and put some thought into how it'll compare cost-wise and time-wise, and coolness-wise is also a big thing, because the thing is, for our money farm, we might have to put it out there in the ocean. So I'm going to set up a fishing area here and one out in the ocean and just kind of see what the difference is between the two, and if we're actually getting like the saltwater fish in the ocean, or if we're just getting like all the fish all the time. So I'm going to craft up some strainers, we're going to test those out, and I'll be back once I have some results and kind of have a plan for how we're actually going to move forward in crafting up our coins. Okay, so after just a little bit of testing, we immediately ran into some snags. So first, we're not actually going to get the cool fish that are worth a lot of money. We can still sell the normal ones, 8 for 1 silver, but it's just not going to be worth it compared to just using sweet berries, because we need to feed it worms as well as crafting these fishing nets. So it's not going to work out. It's a cool idea, and would be neat if there's another block in the mod pack that would do fishing. But from what I can tell, there really isn't. This was kind of like our only option. So sadly, we're not going to be able to do fish for getting coins. However, I do have a different plan other than sweet berries, and that is gold. So if we make gold casts, we can sell those for 1 silver. And gold casts are made from just 1 gold, and we can produce gold relatively easily through washing red sand, which can be made by crushing down terracotta, which can be made by smelting clay, which we can then get from washing sand, which we can just get from crushing gravel, which we can get from crushing cobblestone. So not exactly easy, but it should be a pretty easy crafting line once we kind of get it set up to both upgrade and then have a really high capacity for production. So I'm gonna mess around a little bit and see if we can produce gold relatively quickly, because I think that is going to be our best option from making silver with looking through all of these. And if that it doesn't work out quite as expected and it is a little more difficult, then we are just going to have to go with sweet berries, which is certainly a good option. Actually, taking a look at this, we can actually speed up our process a little bit using the igneous extruder, because with that, we can just straight up get granite, take that, smelt it down, and then crush that for gold. Or sorry, crush it for red sand, which then we can crush for gold, or wash for gold. So that'll be a little bit easier than starting with cobblestone, having to crush it twice into sand and then smelt it and everything. So we've got our plan going forward. We're going to make a bunch of igneous extruders, going to set them up for farming granite, and then set up a little production line. So it looks like we're gonna have to dig down, because these do have to be placed on bedrock to get like the special stones. So I have to dig a little space, bring some igneous extruders, and then we'll kind of work our way up from there. Sweet, so we're now producing granite at a pretty insane rate. Each one of these pieces that you see flying by in these belts is a whole stack of granite. So we're ripping through pretty good. Each of these is upgraded with augments, although the copper one here isn't actually needed, because if you look at this, we're getting 3 at a time with just the 1 augment. If you throw the copper in here, you'd expect 6, but we're still only getting 3 at a time. So we'll have to go through and remove that. But we're getting plenty of granite, and I think this should get a pretty good amount of coins, because each one of these is a whole stack of granite, which means it's about 16 coins per each one of these stacks, roughly. You know, the math, if the math works out how we're kind of intending. So after it's made, and then goes here, it's smelted, and then right now we just have it going into these 2 drawers. But the next step after this is going to be crushing, because we need to get the red sand, and then we wash that red sand. So I think what we're going to have to do is set up like 2 sets of crushing wheels. We're going to have to raise these a little bit because we need to be able to pull out the bottom. And then we set up a wash station, and then we're getting our gold. So we're pretty close to actually being fully complete. So what I'm thinking, we do something like this, and then we want our crushing wheels here. So it'll be something like that, and then we'll have a chute above each one of these, and then a belt going above those chutes. That way it'll kind of just like crush on this one, and then crush on the next one, and the next one, and the next one down the line, and then everything should work out just fine. Parts will get pulled out here, and then we'll have a wash station at the very end of that line, however long it needs to be. And then after that, it's just melting down the gold and turning it into blank gold casts, and then selling it. So we're super close to actually having this coin farm pretty much all the way automated. So this is totally going to work. We've got our line here with all these crushing wheels processing down our granite, red sand, we're washing it, and then we're getting our gold. And every time this number goes up, that's another silver coin. So we're getting them pretty dang quick. And honestly, like, it's going to be more than enough. It's going to be more than we need, and I'm really happy with the production. And this is going to be really easy to kind of increase if we want to in the future. We just got to add a few more of these igneous extruders. But honestly, the way we're going right now, we're going to have more than enough gold. So the last step is to get this into a smeltery so we can start making these blank casts, and then we're pretty much good to go. One thing I do want to check first is if there's anything else we can craft with gold, because I know we can make iron armor and trade that away. But if we can do gold armor, that might make more sense, just because we can actually skip the step of melting it, which will require a little bit of lava, which, you know, isn't the biggest deal in the world because we have unlimited lava, but I do want to just check to see if there's something else we can do. Looks like gold swords are an option. I don't really want to have to worry about getting sticks down here, but that would be one potential way we can go. Now that's interesting. Golden apples will get us 10 silver. Is there an easy way to make apples? Sure, there's the phytogenic insulator where we get an apple pretty quickly. Okay, so that's potentially an option. Okay, cool. And we can just do gold armor. So we really don't need the whole smithing system. All I can do, or all I really need to do, is just take that armor and turn it into coins. So if I go to gold, I guess boots would be the easiest, because we would only need, I guess helmets would probably be the easiest, because then we can just do one small area of crafters. Then we can trade those away. You get 1 coin per 1 gold, so we're still doing that same without having to cast it out. So we'll just throw a crafter here, making helmets, directly into a trade station. That's it. We are almost done making just tons and tons of coins. We would have had 2,000 coins already, which gets us quite a bit of stuff. Now, this is definitely overkill, but there's a reason we're going overkill with that. And that's because we're not just automating coins. By automating coins, we're automating every single one of these items. That's all of our ores, all of our woods, all of our stones, all of these crops, a whole bunch of building blocks that I use, all of the mob drops. Literally just being able to get all of these from coins is going to be pretty sweet. I think with that like 2,000, we can get a whole stack or multiple stacks of pretty much anything that we could ever want. Even 1 diamond is 10 coins. Like, that's hundreds of diamonds already we can have. So this is going to be a pretty sweet system, and I think we're going to buy like every single one of these and set up a little system. I don't know if it'll be down here up above where we can just kind of toggle on what we want and what we don't, and actually be able to like really quickly just get whatever we need. If we need a stack of copper, we can pretty easily get that. So we're going to craft these up, and then I'm going to work on making a bunch of trade stations, and then just buy every single one of these, lay them out, and then, yeah, I don't know, I guess set up a cool little trade hall. And I guess that's our next project is going to be that trade hall. And we're going to combine this villager trading and also Enderman trading in one because we haven't gotten any buddy cards this episode, and that's really important that we get some buddy cards by the end of the episode. So let's get this finished up, start working on a trade hall, and then get ready for finishing chapter 3A and moving on to some more just stuff around the base after that. Sweet, so we got this finally set up. So we got washing system going to a vertical stack of drawers. We've got our gold here coming into our crafters above. And then I figured we've got all these dead bushes we're getting because when you wash the gold, you get dead bushes as a kind of byproduct that I was planning on just voiding, right? So we get a little bit of percent chance to get a dead bush, but I figured we may as well use Sterling Dynamos and just use them for power. So we have the Sterling Dynamos, we have the crafters going down into our trade stations here, which then just get funneled on into here. So we got a little bit of a mess, but that goes down into our drawer here where we're collecting our coins, and we're going to basically have more than we'll ever need. Seems like we are having a small issue of these guys popping out from the middle, it looks like. So I'm thinking that's when it's like finished state here. Looks like it is popping out. So we might rip out the middle one and see if the two on the edge can keep up just fine. I do have these upgraded with the reinforced integral components, so I think they're going pretty much as fast as they can, but I'll try to fix this little issue. I guess first we'll just try straight up removing the middle one and seeing if it'll still keep up. If it does, then great. If not, then we'll figure something else out. But right now our gold is going down, which means this system is going more than fast enough. So we're just going to go ahead and take this off, and I'll keep an eye on it and make sure that our number is still going down. And if it is, then I mean we're done. We got silver for days. And it ended up working out just fine with just two of these. So we got this set up, cleaned up a little bit over here, and opened up the roof just to kind of get the shape of what this area will look like eventually once it's all decorated. And we are up to 17,000 silver coins. That's pretty good. This thing is absolutely ripping through this gold. One thing I didn't talk about is the decision to switch from helmets to chest pieces. And the reason for that is just trade station speed. This is going to sell the same speed whether or not it's a gold chest piece, which gets us 8 coins, or it's a helmet or boots that gives us less. So decided to go with the chest piece so that way like each trade we're essentially getting more coins. A little slower to craft up, but honestly we're keeping up just fine. This number is very slowly going down. It started at like 9,000, we're down to 2,000, so pretty soon we'll be fully caught up and just crafting kind of one for one coming down our line. Now the next step, we're gonna go up, and I think what I'm gonna do is this beacon location I figure is pretty much a good permanent spot because it's a pretty central location in our mega base, right? So when we're over at the train station, we don't kind of get like a great connection, but everywhere else we can still have creative flight based off this one beacon, so this will be permanent. And I figured we got the silver down here. What I'm gonna do is we're gonna do another layer, actually probably starting a few more blocks up, and this one will be kind of our trade station. So I think we're gonna get it set up so we can trade with the Enderman, right? So we can do the Enderling trading, which is how we're gonna get this Xylex stuff. You trade with the buddy card Enderman, you get the Xylex, and we'll also have our trade hall with all the coin stuff. So we'll buy every single one of the items in the shipment tab. So we'll buy one of each of all of these, and then once we have those, we can just set up one trade station for each and have silver automatically routed to it, and we'll just like turn it on and off with a lever to kind of control what we're producing and what we're not, because we definitely don't need to be producing spruce logs at all times, right? So it's time to dig out another hole. So we're going to need 122 trade stations to have enough for each one of these shipments. And honestly, I don't really want to bother crafting those up. So there's this early shipping task, which is essentially intended to let you do trading before the brass age. but it's also only 30 coins to get a trade station, so we need under 4,000 coins to get these, and we have over 17, almost 18,000 coins. So I'm just going through here and I'm going to trade this 122 times and just kind of be done with it, and then we'll get these all set up. We'll go through here, buy each one of these shipments, like I think they're all 10 coins each, and then we'll be pretty much ready to rock and roll, get these set up, get coins pumping to them, and that's going to be it. Or I should say coins and power, but we can use these Sterling Dynamos we're getting with each one of these trade stations, or I'll probably just set up a new Mystic Dynamo or two to power all the trade stations at once. So I've got everything all put in place. We've got these all set up to trade. We can now basically automate all this stuff. Now, I did run into a snag where we have a few items that do need to be produced with gold. So these last few need gold. So what we're going to have to do is set up a trade station to turn silver into gold. And so what I think we'll do here is just kind of like pop into the wall a little bit. Have a belt come into a trade station here. And then we'll have a belt come out, and then another belt going this way, so that way, like, we'll kind of come in, get traded away, and then head out. And actually, we need to push this back a block here. So we want our trade station right here. We'll have a belt coming in here, and I'm going to move kind of quickly on this, because right now we are spewing coins everywhere. So we're going to throw that there, and then we'll have a funnel going in there. And then here we want a line of belts going down here like that. And then we need to pull out of here. I think we need to push this back a block because we'll need a shaft right here going that way. So we'll extend this guy out here. Throw our guy here, 2 funnels. And then our shaft there, connect that up. So now I'll have coins going in, and in here we will put in a exchange currencies. So coins will go in here, and then output we'll have our gold coins coming down through this shaft. And what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this guy to 1. Now, we will have everything stack up in the trade stations themselves. We'll get like stacks of gold coins in each. But by setting this to 1 on the belt, we'll only have 1 gold coin in each position, so we're not wasting too much silver. If we ever need like to really speed this up, I can just set that to a stack, and then a stack will go into each one of these as it goes. Now, apparently I need to clean all the silver up because we dumped a ton on the ground that I don't really want to waste. So I'm just going to throw it all in these drawers for now, and we'll move that downstairs. So the last thing is we do need to power this up. So we'll throw 2 gearboxes here. We'll grab that cobblestone. Yep, just making sure those are going to the right spot, and they are. And then here, would a 3rd gearbox work? It does, so that'll head that way. And then I need do a vertical gearbox, a shaft in here. Oops, so we can't do a shaft there, so that means we'll have to do 2 gearboxes going out this way. Those can just be horizontal. So now we got our belt going here. We want to make sure there's a block at the end so we don't spew gold coins everywhere, which would be really expensive because each gold coin is an entire stack of silver. And now the very last step is to hook up our trade station here to our flux duct line, which I believe is, yep, right here. So we can bring this over and up through the back here. Right like that. This should get powered up. It is nice. And there we go. Once we get all of our junk off of here, this should slowly trade up gold coins, which should slowly fill up these trade stations once we empty them of silver coins. And there we go. We got our first gold coin in there. And now I can take these items and throw them in here so we can actually start trading for our gold coin items. So now that we're through and we have our trade station fully complete, the last thing I want to do is we have an enderling to trade buddy cards back at the main base. I want to drill another hole, like kind of over here or maybe off to the side. Haven't really decided yet, but I want to bring him back and also just see if I can get a few more enderlings relatively quickly and then set up an enderling trade hall so we can start collecting lots of buddy cards because we'd have no buddy cards this episode, and I think that would be a cool way to, kind of help finish up the last few packs we have. Plus, if we want to upgrade our Buddy Steel stuff to like the advanced Buddy Steel, we need Xylex, which you need to get from Enderlings. So it's absolutely a must if we want to upgrade our tools any more than they already are. Well, that was easy. There's just a nice cave that we can just kind of build around. Um, yeah, I mean, this is going to be enough space. We're not going to have too many of these Enderlings, so I'm going to go ahead and transfer this guy over. We'll find him a nice little home in the wall here somewhere. And then I'll head to the nether, I think, to search for more, because that's where I found like the first few. So go to the nether, try to get some more enderlings, and then, yeah, we'll kind of load this place up and hope maybe try to get 3 or 4, and then start trading, I guess. Okay, so I only found one more enderling, but I figured that would be enough to like get started. And we'll see how the trading goes and if we need to get any more. So right now I'm back in my old base where did all of our buddy card opening. We use all these chests to fill them up, and I'm just gonna grab all of our binders and the guidebook and like everything else related to buddy cards. And then we're gonna head on back down to that lower area, throw some chests down there, and we'll kind of just get ready and start taking a look at what the trades actually do and what we can all get from our buddy cards, because most of the trades seem to be for buddy cards, which we have plenty of extras. So hopefully we have the extras we need and we can start getting some Xylex and unlocking some more buddy card trade with the Enderman. So I do have this extra set of metals, which I'm just going to throw in my storage system for now. Actually, we have this chest, which has all my like old tools. I think that'll be a good place to store those. And those extras are just from any cards, are from any sets I completed after updating the pack once. So those aren't necessarily I'm not necessarily supposed to have those, but I do. So I may as well keep them in case we ever need them in the future. Okay, that took a stupid amount of time to find. I went to both my bases, checked every backpack I had, and then sure enough, it was just sitting right here in my regular backpack. So now we do have just a few buddy cards missing. We're missing 2 of the shiny nether cards. Normal sets filled up. We are missing quite a few aquaculture cards. Oh no, these are all the biomes you go. Quite a few all the biomes you go cards. 2 shiny end cards. And then 2 shiny of these are the aquaculture cards. Crate set and the Farmer's Delight set are both complete, so we don't have to worry about those. So I've got these ones that still need to yet be completed. We do have 3 end packs, which we can go ahead and open up, and I'm very unlikely, yep, so that didn't fill them in. And what I'm thinking is these trades, I'm guessing, are going to be pretty random. Now, we can trade 2 coins for a random pack that has 9 buddy cards. I'm just going to go ahead and take a stack of gold coins out of here, and we're just going to see what we get. We're going to see if we get, like, a significant amount of stuff that's useful, or if it's going to kind of be not useful, I guess. I guess what I'm really looking for is if we spend a stack and that gets us at least one of these filled up, I think it would be worth going through and buying a whole bunch. So we're just going to spend a ton of gold and buy a ton of cards. Okay, so that actually got us 32 packs, which means a whole bunch of cards. So we will open both of these up, and then... Oh, that was a mistake. Gosh, okay, so where do these end? So we're looking at BYG, BYG. Okay, so there. So these are all don't actually belong. So I guess we'll start with the ones that are full, because we can kind of just like hold shift and fill them up like that. That one's not. This one is. Okay, so that was actually pretty good. So we finished aquaculture. We finished our nether set. Our end set got really close. Our end set is still really close, but we're still missing those two. Aquaculture was finished, and I think everything else was done. BYG was the biggest bump, though, in cards. We're only missing one card, which is pretty sweet. Um, Actually, there it is. So we did actually finish all the biomes you go. So that's pretty good. The reason this one went so well is because these cards can actually only be found in the mystery packs. So because we bought all the mystery packs, we were able to fill this one up really quickly. So that ended up being well worth it. And I might get another stack just to have cards to trade with these Enderlings. But also, you know, just to kind of help fill up our deck a little bit more. I think, though, these should be at 98. They still at 98? That's surprising, because I thought they should have bumped up to 100, unless it counts the shiny cards as well. It might count the shiny cards as well. So, hopefully soon we can get that up to 100, with maybe another stack or two of gold coins spent. Now, one thing is these gold coins are very expensive. We haven't bought much with it. I did get a stack of emeralds because we're always low. But as you can see, we're very slowly filling these up, and we are completely out of silver coin. Every single coin is being used to make gold coins, which isn't too big of a deal because we do have a stack of coins in each one of these. So if we really need something, we just flick the lever and we can have plenty of them. But one thing to consider is these cards are going to be very expensive, but as we're automating it, not really too much of a worry. So I think I will do, oh, we do have these base set cards we may as well open up. And then we're going to go ahead and get another stack of those special cards and then kind of just be done with it. So I did quite a bit of trading with these guys on camera, but it was kind of boring. So essentially where we're at is we did have some stuff that we had in our inventory that we could trade for a few Xylex. We ended up with 10 Xylex. Now the problem is we need 10 for a single perfect buddy steel blend, which upgrades one of our tools. So we'll need 10, 20, 30, 40, and then we got our 50, 60, 70, 80. So we'll need a minimum of 80 Xylex, and we're out of the cards that we traded here. So we have a few options. One, we start grading cards because a lot of these trades need to be graded cards. Now, the problem with that is we don't have many of the buddy card sleeves, and well, they do have a recipe that's pretty easy, so that actually wouldn't be too bad to start grading cards. So maybe that's actually what we'll do as one option. The other thing is I think we just need to get a bunch more of these Enderlings. So I'm going to go to the end, I think. It's been a while since we've been over there, but I'm going to head to the end and see if they spawn there quite often, because the area I was in the nether, it probably took me about 10 to 12 minutes to get one of these guys, which isn't too bad. But if they're just kind of spawning in the end like crazy, that would obviously be easier. So, step one, find as many of these guys as we can. And then step two is going to be probably open up a ton more of the mystery packs until our inventory is just full of buddy cards. Step three, find these guys' little homes so that way we can have like this guy in a slot and we know what his trades are, and then just start trading away until we have 80 Xylex. And once we have 80 Xylex, I mean, that's going to be more than enough. Actually, plus 10 more, that's 90, because we want to be able to craft this perfect buddy steel metal at some point. Okay, so hunting enderlings kind of sucks. The rates are really bad, and they really despawn quite quickly, and also transferring from the end or the nether all the way here does take some effort. and there's a high risk of them dying on the way. One time I took one out of the nether and it was raining and just immediately died, so that's not very fun. So what we're going to try here is I raided road-like dungeons in the past, and I actually have an Enderman spawner left over. So what I think I'm going to do is we're going to try setting that up, and I brought some fans and some nozzles, and we're going to see if we can automatically filter out the Enderlings, because they're 2 blocks tall and the Endermen are 3 blocks. So if we have like a fan pushing and there's like saws or something at the 3 block where they die, the Enderlings should just get pushed on through, and then we can just have them just drop right in here. We can name tag them quick and then quickly get our Enderlings. So we're going to hope that a spawner actually works. From what I can tell, some of the spawns for Endermen are just replaced with Enderlings, so it should work in theory. So we're just gonna clear out a little space here because we have no reason not to just filter them directly into this room, and then get this set up with some fans, and we're gonna be pretty much, hopefully, just good to go. Okay, so I've been here quite a while with no luck in getting any Enderlings, and in fact, one of the Enderlings wandered in where I was killing them, and they accidentally got killed. So I think our strategy is just going back to the end, and we'll just have to grind it out, which isn't going to exactly be quick, but it should work at least. Where this, I don't think they're actually spawning alongside the Enderman from the spawner itself, which is unfortunate. And after hours of hunting, we finally got all the Enderlings, and it certainly was not easy. It's just so time consuming to find these guys, even in the end where there's tons of Endermen because the rates are just so low. So I actually went ahead and just boosted them by 8 because it was just taking so long to find, like it was taking like 30 minutes plus to find a single guy. So boosted the rates, and then we were able to get everyone all together. And so the next step is what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all these trades. Anything I have, I'm just going to trade away and go through here, and anything that needs to be graded, we're going to hold off on for now. But I do have a bunch of grading sleeves I've made, so it might be worth it to grade some cards that we have a lot of and be able to get some Xylex for them. So we're going to go ahead and trade everything I have to all these Enderlings, and we'll see how much Xylex we get. And hopefully it's like the 90 or so we need to actually craft up all of our like upgraded Buddy Steel armor. Alright, so I did all of the trades. Most Enderlings had 2 trades where it was just a card for Xylex, and then some other trades that needed to be graded. And they also had some cool stuff that they could sell. So like we got some mystery sets we could buy, we got some like card stands we can buy if you want to. But we went ahead and sold a bunch, and we got, was a 70 Xylex. So we're only 20 away, and that won't be too hard to get because most of these graded cards sell for more than 1 Xylex. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through here, and we're just going to grade each one of these, and we're just going to trade them away. So our first one is a Goldie Shiny grade B. So I believe that's an aquaculture. And we only have 2 of these, so may as well grade both, I guess. I don't think there's any problem doing that. So I don't know if we craft these or it's like an offhand right click. Did that work? That used one. Grade D. Okay, so they're both grade D, so we aren't able to trade those. Crybaby grade A. So I think we should have quite a bit of those. Yeah, we got 13 of those. So I'm going to save one. And then if I right click, is it going to grade all of them the same, or would it like grade? Okay. There we go. Is that our first one? That was. So our first one is a Crybaby grade A. We can trade that away. And we can do that more than once. Oh, that's pretty sweet, because all of the regular ones we're only able to do just once. So we're going to do the Crybaby multiple times, and that even unlocked another create set one I can do. So I can do T for 6 if we have enough of those. Oh yeah, we got plenty. So we can do 8T for 6 of those. And we can try to get some more Crybabies, I guess. Grade B, grade D, grade B, and so on. So grade A. So we get another one of those. Oh my gosh, and we're unlocking more and more trades as we go here. So we unlocked one more which is 8 of the anchors for 12 Xylex. Man, we might be able to get everything with just this one buddy card. Ooh, but we only have 8 anchors. We'll hold off on trading those unless I really need to, because I'd like to keep, you know, one of everything, if possible. Well, let's see if we can't get another grade A. One of these? Is that it? Nope, grade C, grade D, grade D, grade D. And we'll save one of these. But yeah, I'll just keep going through here until we get our 80. Actually, no, this is 80. Almost. Okay, so we need just 2 more Xylex. So I'll just keep going through here, and we'll get 2 more Xylex. Probably on this guy with a Night Grade C. That should be pretty easy to get. And then I think we're going to be done with this portion for now. And then we got a grade A, grade D, grade C. Go ahead and trade that away. Gets us our 80 Xylex. Oh wait, we needed 90, didn't we? First one's grade C. There's our grade A Stride. 5 more Xylex. Means we're just 6 away. We locked Mystery Pack, which is pretty cool. We'll see if we can get some more grade A Strides. There's a grade B. There's a grade D. No more grade A's. We're gonna have a lot of non-stacking cards after doing all this, aren't we? Next is gonna be Chrome grade B, which is a create set. And we got plenty of create set cards because we crafted those. So we're looking for Chrome, grade C, grade A, grade B. Okay. So there's 1 grade B Chrome. Get just 4 more. We're just 2 away from having what we need. Was a grade D and another grade D. Man, we're having no luck with these. That first one, we got so many Xylex, and the rest of these is not going as well. Goldies, I believe we already traded all those away. Oh, but they weren't. They were the shiny version. This guy is doing the non-shiny version. We got 16 of those. I bet we can get quite a few grade Ds, right? First one is C. Second one is B. B. D. Okay, we got 1 D. We got 2 Ds. Okay. That's something at least, right? That's our last 2. Hey, that's exactly what we needed. And we unlocked more potential card trades, which is pretty good. But that gives us exactly 60, 70, 80, and 90 Xylex, which is what we need. 90 Xylex is all we need to craft up, I think, everything we want to craft with the Xylex. So other than collecting the last cards, that's pretty much it for buddy cards in this pack, other than, of course, like crafting all the stuff up for the Xylex. But that's going to require a little bit more work. We need more than just the Xylex. We do need more Buddy Steel Blend, and we need these Loomises and these Deep Loomises, which are pretty rare. We do have a few. But yeah, we're pretty close, and I think we'll save that for the end of the episode. And in the meantime, get this whole area all decorated up because, well, everything's working. It doesn't necessarily look the prettiest yet. Actually, we got really off track here, didn't we? The Enderlings were just a side product of having our trade hall here and wanting an Enderling trade hall in the same spot. We're supposed to be taking these coins and automating Chapter 3A so we can have silver and start making Ender chests and Ender tanks so we can like automatically transfer stuff around our world. So yeah, we got to take these silver coins and do a little bit more work with them. And I think we'll keep them down here, or at least keep our silver processing down here, because we can pretty much just like pull off of here up another stage. We'll dig out another room at this level, so we already got power and everything we need here. And then we'll start making our way through Chapter 3A. Okay, so step 1 of crafting up our end machines is farming these posy bushes. Now, these are done by using the small ones and using it in a phytogenic insulator to get the tall posy bush. And then we put those back into another phytogenic insulator, and that gives us these posy clusters. Now these posy clusters in another phytogenic insulator gets us 1 end slime and 3 posy bushes. Those 3 posy bushes can be turned into 3 posy clusters. So just going through that cycle, we basically get unlimited of these posy clusters. Now as part of that, we'll get extra posy bushes, which we can then use to turn into our Enderium ingots, along with silver and our ender dust that we're already farming. Now to actually craft the phytogenic insulator, however, we need this lumen stuff, because we need some lumen gears, and this need additional crafting. So our first step is to use a magnet crucible to melt down glowstone or glowstone dust to get this energized glowstone, which we then are going to use in a fractioning still to turn into lumen ingots. So we're going to need a few thermal machines, and we're just going to find another little space over in our ingot crafting room, and we're going to get these set up so we can start making a bunch of lumen, and we'll probably, let's see what all we can use this for. Looks like there's quite a few crafts that actually need these. So I'm just going to go ahead and craft up like 2 stacks of it, at least for now, and then we can craft up more in the future if we need to. Okay, so we got our 2 blocks. I'm also going to grab some ducks so we can transfer power. I'm also going to grab some coins and a pneumatic dynamo. So we don't have one, so I'll just craft one of those up quick. And we're just going to use that to power stuff for now, because that's going to be a nice way of powering something for like a long time. Eventually we'll have a more permanent power system, but this will work for now, because we also need to grab glowstone. We got 40 of these blocks, so we'll just melt all those down. I think, if I remember right, we don't get this from trading. That's too bad. I thought we totally did get glowstone from trading. I guess not. But we can just go ahead and set this up here so we can we'll do magma crucible into fractioning still. And then we'll power these up like so. Throw some coins in there. And then I want to throw a glowstone in here. And I believe what we can do, I believe there's a way that we can automatically pump into the block next to it without needing like a create pipe. Okay, that's what it is. It's a modular reconfigurator. Allowed sides to be configured for input and output. And yeah, we can totally craft one of those up. So craft one of those up so we can automatically dump into here. All right, so I got what I need. We can go ahead and apply this in here. And I'm also going to throw an Invar augment in here because this thing is quite slow. So now we can configure this, and we want to, let's see, this is input, so we want red. So it'll output over here automatically. So we have our first bit of energized glowstone, and then we want to input here. Okay, there we go. So I had to turn auto input on. And there we go. We got our first lumen, and whoa, it's 1 glowstone per lumen. So this is going to run for quite a while. That's going to take a bit of time. So we're going to throw this up here so we can throw a barrel here, and we can output here into the chest. I think we want to turn auto output on. There we go. So we'll just kind of let this run. In the meantime, we can get started on the other path. So we need that to get this posies cycle finished up. But we can now just start melting down our silver to get silver ingots, which we're going to need to make the Enderium, and I don't think really anything else. Yeah, it's just the Enderium. So we don't need to make like a ton of this stuff. We really just need enough to keep our Enderium line running. So for that, we're going to need another foundry, which actually should be pretty easy because from coins, we're already farming our grout, because I don't think, yeah, we have literally no tinker stuff in here. So we're going to go ahead and grab a bunch of grout. We're going to smelt that up and then work on building up a little foundry to start smelting down some coins. And I guess also turning it into ingots, because that's going to be the step that we're going to need to do. All right, so we got what we need for the first few steps. So down here, we have our like little coin belt that feeds all of the trade stations. So I'm just going to pull a line of chutes straight up from that, and then come over with a belt. And then we're going to need a seared chute here. And this will basically be the input point. So we can throw a funnel here and a funnel here. So that should flow into the drain, or into the smeltery, I should say. Then we're also going to need a controller and a tank, which I'm going to drop over on, actually we'll do that in the front, I think. And that's because right here, like basically straight above, we have our lava line, which we can then drag down and then over. unless we want to just do an ender tank. You know what? I think that's a better idea. Because we're going to unlock ender tanks super quick, so we can just do an ender tank into here. And then we need our controller. Then the last thing we need are a few seared chutes and a seared drain. So I'm actually going to pull this out like this. We'll put our drain here so we can pump into there with our lava. And then we'll do a tank here. And we'll do a seared chute. And we can do another seared chute. Let me do that. And we should have a functional smeltery. It's not very big, but I don't think we need to go bigger. And it's going to be pretty easy just to add layers, especially because we're so far underground. We can just pretty much go up infinity if we really have to. But this should work. Then the next step is just putting it down into our two crafting tables, or casting tables, I should say. We do need to put the blank ingot casts in there, so I'll have to go make those. But then after that, I mean, really all we're doing is shoving the silver ingots we're getting out of there, the tall posy bushes, and the ender dust, which we'll just pull in with the ender chest, into an induction smelter, which I believe, yeah, it's pretty easy to craft up. So that's going to be pretty much it for this machine. In fact, we'll probably put our smelter right here. Actually, I think we want to move this back another block, because what we can do is we can do our belt here, pull it up to here, and then we'll do this here. We can do funnels on either side, and then we'll do a funnel in the back or from the top with our posy bushes. But that's going to be pretty much it. So I'm going to get the rest of the parts I need, then we'll build our posy machine. We'll get this going so we can kind of see if it's going to keep up, and then, yeah, just connect it up to our smelter, and we're done. Completely done with chapter 3. Sweet, and we now have end machines, right? These abrasive mechanisms, completely automated. It's definitely slow. We still have a little more work to do. But we got our phytogenic insulators installed. So this one takes the tall bushes and makes these clusters. This one takes the clusters and makes the bushes, and this one just takes the bushes and makes the tall bushes, and then it sends them out. We have these set on a forced round robin. So 1 always goes this way, and then 2 always go back and feed back through the system. So slowly, we should accumulate more and more of these as time goes on. And then once I put this funnel back here, I'm kind of waiting just to, you know, kickstart the system a little bit. Once I put this funnel back on, a third of them will be turned into the Enderium ingots. Now, this is a slow system because these things just run really slowly. I do have these two upgraded with the augments because I believe they run a little bit slower than the one with the bushes. So we're doing the best we can, but with the amount of machines I feel like making for this machine, it is going to go pretty slow. But that also means we don't really have to upgrade our silver production. I believe this is going to keep up just fine. We're constantly pumping some more silver into here. And then the last really thing I need to do is set up automated lava, set up a automated line for the ender dust, and set up an automated line for our inductive machines, which I just put a barrel with a whole bunch on. And we're going to do those using the obtrusive mechanisms to craft ender machines. We're going to use those ender machines to craft up ender tanks and ender chests, which can automatically transfer stuff around our world. But we're gonna have to wait quite a bit of time for quite a few of those to generate up. So in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and get this place decorated. We have 3 whole levels to decorate, so this is gonna take me a bit of time, but I think it's gonna be worth it, and I think this place is gonna look really cool once we get these 3 layers decorated. From our cool time lapse, we're going to install this ender chest to take this ender dust from over here to our new assembly line for Chapter 3A, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why this is so cool. So, before this point, what we'd have to do is we'd have to take a belt or something all the way down underground. But now, all we're going to have to do is find a place where we can stick this chest, which is maybe a little easier said than done. But I think what I can do is throw a chute here and an ender chest below that. And then this will start filling up with ender dust. Perfect. And now this one right now is white, 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 and we can dye this. I didn't bring dye with me, but I'll come back and do that shortly. Actually, here, we'll just grab one of these reds. So we'll just go ahead and dye this red, white, red. And so now red, white, red is going to slowly fill up with our ender dust. And the really cool thing about that is it's going to link up to any red, white, red chest in our whole world. So if I come all the way down to our Chapter 3A factory, which is still a work in progress, and we go ahead and install this here, and we make this red, white, red. You'll see this is now linked up, and we're automatically pulling ender dust all the way over here. So this basically makes a lot of logistics a whole lot easier. And basically with these ender chests, we can do the same thing with tanks. So what we're going to do in a little bit is throw one over here, cooked up to our lava, so that way we can automatically feed the smeltery. So now let's get this place all decorated up so we can go back to messing around with our buddy cards. And with that, I'm going to completely call Chapter 3 done. We have our bottom level here, which looks really cool, creating our granite, which then turns itself into gold, which then turns itself into coins, which we are getting pretty quickly. Like, this thing starts to fill up quite quick when we're not using it, but we are using it quite a lot. We got our beacon here, which is going to be a permanent location. I decided I didn't really want to bother with an elevator here. We have flight. Why not use it? Here we have all of our trade stuff, which looks really nice. And then over here we have our little enderlings ready to trade for some Xylex when we want it. Up one more level is where we have our actual Chapter 3 production, and this room looks so cool. I'm really happy with how this turned out with like the glass panes and this like cool little purple stuff behind it. And yeah, it's going pretty slow. I did end up turning it. So when it makes the tall posy bushes, 2 get sent over to our induction smelter and only 1 gets sent back into the system, because that 1 is going to turn back into 3. So we really only need to keep feeding the 1 in, and we have plenty of these posy bushes. This one over here really is our bottleneck. So I think what I actually might do is we put the reinforced augment on this one. I think I'm going to move it over to here, and that might speed up our system just a little bit. But we are making these slowly but surely. We already have 61 of them, plus a few more because I've already created an ender chest, and I will be throwing our ender tank over here shortly. And then coming up the shaft, I decided to leave the walls undecorated. I think it looks pretty fine as is, with just kind of having like the top portions decorated, and then if we ever add any rooms down here in the future, we totally can. Nothing's decorated here yet because I don't know if this will be a larger room or kind of what we're going to do, but I would call Chapter 3 fully complete. So let's go ahead, pop into our quest book, and get all this stuff checked off. Which of course sucks because we actually need to go get a copper can to submit this. That is one complaint about Above and Beyond, is we're not producing it that way, but we still need the copper can to check it off, so that's kind of unfortunate. All right, we got our copper can. We can go ahead and submit that. We want to grab a silver ingot. We'll grab our tall posy bush too. Okay, we got that checked off with the posy bush, so we can let that run. Now we need our enderium ingot, which we'll snag out of here once this one crafts up. And then we need our truce mechanism to get that checked off. And the last thing is we need to go craft another ender machine. So we'll just go ahead and grab, oh, we have exactly a stack. Perfect. We'll just craft those all up into the end machines and get that last one checked off. So we can craft up 8 of these right away, which will be pretty sweet. We're going to keep 2 with me so we can make those tanks right away. But we can now check off Chapter 3, the Catharsis. And that is fully done. So we can head back to the overview and start moving on into Chapter 4. But we're going to save that for next time, and we're going to actually move on to upgrading some of my armor and remaking some of my tools. Because I lost my diamond shovel earlier in the video, and I lost my pickaxe. Never mind, I did not lose my pickaxe. How did it end up there? That's super weird. I genuinely thought this was lost. Midway through the decoration part of the build, I just couldn't find it, and apparently it was just sitting on my head. So anyway, we do still need to remake our shovel. So we'll go ahead and craft up a new buddy steel shovel, and we'll have to go and enchant this again. We also need a new helmet, which we have exactly enough for helmet. And also, may as well craft up as much of this buddy steel blend as we can. We got all the Xylex we needed in this episode. The other limiting factor is going to be the deep Loomis, which we only have 12 of. And so I believe we actually only need 9 to upgrade everything. So I think we can go ahead and craft all those up. The other thing I do want to do is craft up as many of these Eternal Stellas as I can, which is going to be 4. That's going to be pretty sweet, because these are what we use to make our gear unbreakable. So that means we can take 4 pieces of our gear and fully make them indestructible. Plus, actually 5, because we have one in here, which is pretty cool. Although this one seems to be kind of stuck. It's in our system somewhere, but it is not being extracted by pretty pipes. So I guess I'll just have to go through here and check these out and see if we can't find it. And once I can, I'll grab that, and then we'll have 5 pieces of gear that we can fully upgrade, which I guess would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's not quite everything. So what do we need to make more of these? Experified ores. So those are mined, and that is the only way to get those. So that is kind of unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world. We will get those upgraded eventually. But to start, let's go get our helmet and shovel enchanted up, and then I will come on back and craft up that buddy steel blend. Alright, so we didn't manage to get respiration on our helmet, but everything else, we got our shovel fully enchanted up. I decided not to go for Silk Touch this time. I might end up regretting that later, but we can always come back and put that on. I did find that 5th Eternal Stella, so I think we'll do our 3 pieces of armor. Our pickaxe and wings are already enchanted. So I think we'll also do our sword, and then I think our shovel. I know we have to decide between our axe and shovel, and I think the shovel is going to get used up a lot quicker. So I believe those are done in a smithing table, which, you know, we're back here. May as well go use the old workshop. I think we do still have one in here. We do. So I believe we just put that there, put the Eternal Stella there. Or not. How do we use this? Yeah, it should be the tool and the Eternal Stella that should enchant it with Unbreakable. Did this have to be unenchanted armor? I feel like I remember this needing to be unenchanted. I'm gonna go grab another tool or something back at the base, and we're gonna try to combine it with an unenchanted piece and see if that's it. That would be super unfortunate. We'd have to spend quite a bit of time re-enchanting everything. Okay, we have this old buddy steel chest piece that we were originally using. It's got no enchantments on it, so we should be able to, assuming this does need to be unenchanted, indestructible. Oh no, that is not worth it to go through the effort of re-enchanting, because our enchanting setup is pretty good, but we don't really have any way of like automatically getting the books we want, so we're still kind of reliant on luck. So what I'm thinking is, as we're kind of nearing kind of the midpoint slash nearer to the end of the series, each one of these is going to give us 3 uses. And so when you right click these, it essentially just repairs everything fully up in your inventory. So honestly, I think the way we're going to want to use these is to just right click them when we get low on something. So when our sword gets a little bit lower, we'll just right click one of these, and then that'll give us 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 uses, which is essentially like 15 new sets of gear. Not ideal, but we do have unbreaking on everything, so hopefully that does what we need. Now the other question is if the perfect buddy steel helmets can be crafted up when they're enchanted. I sure hope so. So let's go ahead and we'll grab our Xylex and we'll start crafting up all of our Buddy Steel blend, smelting that down, and upgrading all of our tools. Okay, so we need 9 Xylex blocks. 9. And then we also need 9 of these Loomis blocks. Oh, okay, so we have to take our Loomis crystals and smelt them. So we'll go ahead and grab, we need 9 stacks of these. That's 6, 7, 8, 9. And we also need 9 stacks of Buddy Steel, and we are very low on that. So what do we need to make Buddy Steel? We need the blend, which is 3 shredded cards, block of iron, block of lapis. We have quite a few shredded cards, but let's see. We have enough for our blocks of lapis, so we need 9 of these. Got enough for that. I'm sure we have enough for our iron blocks. Yeah, we definitely do. We have over 1,000 iron. Actually, no, we're gonna need a lot more than 9 because we need 9 stacks of blocks because we need to make Buddy Steel blocks. Ooh, okay. So we need a lot more of this. Well, let's go ahead and get our... Yeah, we don't even have enough iron in here. We only have enough for 2 stacks. All right, I guess I'll go down to our trade station. We'll get the Loomis smelting up at least. And we're going to start trading away for some iron and lapis. That way we can craft up our Buddy Steel blend to get our Buddy Steel ingots. Okay, so we're so close on getting all the lapis we need. We just need like 12 more stacks of lapis, which should get generated pretty quickly down our little coin farm, and then we're done with that. Now, the problem is these shredded buddy cards. We need 27 stacks of shredded buddy cards because each Buddy Steel blend requires 3 shredded buddy cards. Now, the reason we want to use the shredded ones is because from each card, we get 1 and then 20% of a second one. Instead of if we just used cards, we'd only be able to use like 1-to-1. So what we're gonna do is go open up whatever packs we have left, which I actually think is just this one. And we're just gonna grab every single extra card we have. We should have all the Xylex we need, so we really don't need to do any more trading. And if we do, we can always get more packs. And we're just gonna start crushing them down. We're definitely gonna take all of these graded cards because I don't really see a use for those unless we really want to try to go for full completed sets of everything, which I kind of don't think is gonna be worth our time. And if we don't have what we need, we're just going to buy mystery packs. We're just going to keep buying mystery packs until we are done, pretty much. So I'm going to just store all of this stuff here. We're going to let our lapis go. We're going to grab all of these cards, grab all of our binders, and start crushing them up. I guess before we go too far, I do want to make sure that the graded cards can be crushed. I would assume they can. I don't see any reason why they couldn't. But I do want to make sure. So it gets crushed. Okay, yep, and we got our crushed buddy cards out of there. So we're gonna just get these all processing down. Oh my gosh, so close. Just a stack and 4 shredded buddy cards short. I got everything in this bag to make our Buddy Steel blend, and we're so close. So I guess we got to open up some more cards, and these are the only ones that we still have to get cards for. We're close. I don't know if we're going to get it today, but we're definitely going to get close. I think I'll start with probably just like 2 stacks of buddy cards, and we'll see how far that gets us. So we'll grab 1 stack of gold coins, 2 stacks of gold coins, and we'll turn those all into mystery packs. And then we're also going to place down some chests because sorting the cards once you've gone ahead and have them in your inventory is not super easy. So it's nice to have just a dump chest to place everything in. We'll store, actually we're not going to store all our tools because apparently we're full. We can throw them in here. And we'll go ahead and start buying and opening packs. So with just one of these stacks of 16, we got everything we needed for crafting up our buddy steel. We do still have 3 sets that aren't finished, but I think we're going to call it there. And in the next episode, we'll finish these up. But in the meantime, let's go get our buddy steel blend crafted up so we can actually upgrade all our armors and tools and get super OP, I hope. Like if we went ahead and look at the buddy steel perfect, it's only 1 more armor point plus 1 armor toughness. So I would hope that along with like the extra armor point, we're also going to gain some extra bonuses. So like it scales like exponentially instead of linearly. This is upgraded 98%. We're at +6 on our leggings, where originally we were at +4. So I hope that that +5, which is originally on our perfect buddy steel, turns into like a +8 or 9. We'll see. Definitely going to be an improvement, but I don't really know by how much. Hopefully it's more than just a single point. All right, so that is the last of the perfect buddy steel crafting ingredients we need. And because this is more than I can fit in my inventory, we're up here in our crafting room. I'm just going to throw it in this chest, which is hooked up to a crafting station from Tinker's Construct, which will essentially let us craft from the ingredients in this chest. So once we fill this up, sort it to look all nice, we should be able to go to Buddy Steel Blend and then craft up 10 stacks of this. And we're going to smelt up 9 of those because the 9 stacks we need to turn into a stack of blocks. And then the last stack of these is just to craft up the perfect buddy steel because we actually need the non-smelted version of these. So we're going to put 9 of those in here. And once those are smelted up, we're ready to go ahead and finish it off and craft up our perfect buddy steel. Let's go. All right, it's time. So we got our stack. Oh no, I overdid it. Oh, I just spent like an hour because I was like, oh, I need a stack of buddy steel. No, I needed 9. What am I doing? Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we've got our buddy steel blend and a ton of extra buddy steel, I guess. God, is there anything I can use this for, or did I just waste a ton of time? Yeah, not really. We can make more armor, I guess, if we want. That's pretty much it. Man, all right. Well, we have plenty of bloody steel for the future, but let's go cook up this blend. And it'll be the moment of truth where we can see if we can actually combine it with our tools without disenchanting them. My hopes aren't high. After doing that Eternal Stella and that not working, I'm a little worried if I'm honest. So let's see what happens. Okay, I'm gonna come over here to our smithing table. Looks like it's all the way up here. And we put our sword in, and we put this here, and it works! Our perfect buddy steel sword, perfect buddy steel pickaxe, shovel, axe, and then we'll grab our gear. We get our helmet, we got our boots, we got our pants. Throw those on. And how are we looking? 7 armor. Okay, that's pretty good. So it does scale like exponentially. So that's pretty good. And we have 2 more. One of which we're going to throw on our buddy steel chest piece. We pretty rarely use this, but we do have it just in case. And the last one, we're going to use with our Xylex metal and our Loomis metal to craft up the perfect Buddy Seal metal. Now, I believe I've got some extra metals. I don't know if I have those as extras, but we're going to craft up that metal and see what it does. Oh, and apparently I'm not going to be able to craft this because this needs the 26 or 28 BYG cards. It can't just be anything. So we're going to have to open up a lot more buddy cards to get those. So we'll store this for now. And that is it. We got our fully upgraded gear. I do want to take this for a little test drive and see just how quick this pickaxe is going to be. I would imagine it should be a little better than netherite. So we should be able to auto mine stone. Oh, we can't quite instant mine stone. That's all right. We're close, and it's definitely going to be an upgrade. I can see the durability is already quite a big upgrade, so I'm happy that we got our gear. So taking a look at our quest for today, Chapter 3 is done. Trade Hall, we're going to call that complete. And we got our coin trade hall done, so we can check those guys off in the back here. Now, the last few items on our list are a new storage room, a testing facility, and food factory, and that's gonna have to wait for the next episode. So in the next episode, we're gonna finish Chapter 4, do a little bit more work on our mega base, and kind of work our way through to the pack. We're getting pretty close to the end. After Chapter 4, it's really just getting to the moon. So it's probably 2 more longer episodes like this left, and we're done. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this huge 2-hour long video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.